do fake.
Believe me, after the shows of the last week, believe me.
I've caught a
Whatever.
little bit of them. I try and say hi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I've just been so busy.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Let me make sure it's connected real quick.
You're not getting any
Uh,
spill from the speaker into the mic from my end, no echo.
no, no, no. Your acoustics are good. Yeah, they're real good. All right, so yeah, we're live. Okay. So we were just having a conversation beforehand. This has been a really to me indicative of the excuse me, of the transformational energies that are taking place as individual goes, so goes a collective. And this show started, right? Gareth reached out, and I didn't know who he was. And believe me, I've gotten thousands of messages over the years, people telling me, I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I'm just saying, we live in incredible times and we're receiving these things that are both expanding but challenge our ego. And then when we go into that rabbit hole, we expand more.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Gareth comes on a couple of times, and in an organic fashion, you come on to the third, and I knew to remove myself from the show.
Yeah, you did.
It's an energetic thing, right? And oh my God, I'm getting downloaded now. And so what I've come to, and I want to share this publicly and with both of you out of the deepest respect and reverence, the contrast that you bring. You know, there's so much to it because normally, and this is not judgment, this is not comparison, this is just what I've been seeing, and I'm just sharing with you. I'm not saying it's the gospel truth, but normally the feminine brings in the higher octaves, the intelligence that Gareth has experienced in his life since the mid 90s. And the masculine tends to be rooted, no pun intended, in the organic and physical pleasures of life that turn into your deepest shadows. So the way I see it is you're bringing the inverse as we move into the integration of the inverse. And I'm blessed and deeply, deeply appreciative of being able to facilitate this in whatever way I can. So I asked both of these beautiful souls beforehand, before we went live, would you do a long episode with me individually to bring out both sides of that? The soul connection in the human embodiment that Gareth carries, and the soul connection that Katie carries into the human. And so, yeah, I'm just elated that you both said yes, and
Yeah.
looking forward to that. And thank you for your contribution and your courage and your tenacity, and your forthrightedness. I mean, this is what it's all about. And I don't care how many views there are because this is being felt
Mhm.
throughout the entire grid. And I'm not just talking about the Earth grid. So,
Mm.
Yep.
having said all that, thank you very much, Gareth. I will pass over
The torch.
the torch of the host to you, and thank you very much. I enjoy you. Keep going and keep shining. Peace out.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Todd.
Todd. Thanks, Todd. Hi, Katie Kiss.
Hey, Gareth Jenkins.
What a week.
We say that every week.
I keep thinking Supertramp. What a day, a year, a life it is.
Mm.
I suppose a lot of people haven't even heard of Supertramp anymore.
Yeah, right. You just dated yourself.
Mm, mm.
And Todd just was talking about your experiences from the 90s. I'm like, the 90s? His experiences from the late 60s.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
Well, you too, you too. It's just putting words to it all. What is
yeah.
it we've all been living through?
I was sound asleep until I wasn't.
But I love one thing God said was darkness serves a purpose. So, being asleep, you got to be asleep to be awake, or what being awake has no value. Without darkness, there's no dawn, that kind of thing. Contrast,
My
So you,
friend, well, yeah, my awakening comparatively to so many people I now know who are awake, mine was like a car crash. Mine was immediate. Mine was overnight. And so, like, no wonder I've been trying to right the ship ever since and have been suicidal for all these years because everything changed in an instant. And my friend Lori, he was my mentor for a couple of years, and he lives right here in Buffalo. And he was a student of Dolores Cannon. I think he was in her last cohort before she passed on. But one of the things, like, I just went around, like, I think you seek understanding until you realize you can't seek any longer. My friend Katie just said this to me today. She just said, she spent years seeking, and then she realized, she learned that she had everything she was seeking was within her. She had it all right there, but she couldn't have known not to seek unless she was seeking. Like, you have,
precisely.
right? And so what I wanted to say about Lori was, like, I was in such was like, this is still every morning I wake up with the suicidal ideation, like it hasn't gone away, and I keep thinking, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not happier? I know the things, right? But one of the things Lori said to me is he said, I think you were so entrenched in the matrix, but you were so loving. You were fully in it, but also fully loving. So you had to see things in that way to have woken up in this way to be able to speak on both to everyone.
Precisely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
helped me
exactly
when
it.
he said that. Like, it almost like absolved me. Not that there's anything to forgive. I think forgiveness is a whole crock anyway. Like, everyone's taking courses on forgiveness and classes on forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. Um, but it kind of absolves you of the pressure, absolved me of the pressure of who I was. Like, who I was absolutely serves who I am. I just don't know it yet because who I'm becoming isn't doing anything with anything right now. This is what I'm doing. Like, I just sent, I'm like everybody's calendar. My girlfriend Melanie calls me KI instead of AI. She calls me KI. And I'm everyone's calendar. I'm always reminding all of my friends and loved ones, okay, here's the link. This is what time, this is what we're doing. So I just reminded everybody today, like, of this breath work session with the way forward, Alex Zech's community, and like the girls in the chat group, they're like, yeah, I gotta work. Yeah, I gotta pick up my kids. I'm like, yeah, this is all I'm doing. This is it. This is what I do. And, like, I get mad. I'm like, why isn't everybody doing this? Oh, because they have to work. They have to feed their families. They have to raise children. I'm like,
Hmm.
right? Oh,
Yes. But the great thing, and this is one thing, when the Arcturians showed up in 20, God, I struggle to remember the year now, 2016, I think, ish, somewhere around there. Um, they'd been with me my whole life, but I've never seen them. They said it wouldn't have served me for them to show themselves. So they had to stay in the background. But then when it was time to integrate everything, that's when they turned up physically. Well, astrally, it was hard to know. That first time they showed up was very powerful. I actually thought they were in the room. I kept looking at the hallway door to the bedrooms where my wife and kids were asleep, thinking, my God, are they going to show you, they're going to walk in and there's two 8 foot tall blue ETs and a Aboriginal elder in front of me. What are they going to think? How am I going to explain that one? Um, and I thought they were physical, but I was the only one there. So I think they were actually, it was just astral projection. However, they went through a whole of quite a few things. One thing they explained to me was I always wanted to know why I kept having these 5D. I didn't know they were 5D experiences at the time, but I kept wondering, why am I having these experiences? Like, what's all that about? And they said they called it an indelible soul purpose. They said you were born with an indelible soul purpose, which meant your conscious awareness could not be fully removed from your purpose in life. So that's how you experienced it. Now, when you said that about that you were born into the matrix and you were fully in it, but your capacity for unconditional love was too powerful as well. So at
Mm-hmm.
some point,
Mm-hmm.
the crisis that creates, because at some point your mind and your heart, the tension between the two can't coexist. So in my place, in my situation, 93, I wake up saying, if this is all there is to life, I could die right now and I wouldn't care. My mental construct couldn't hold reality anymore. But my
No,
heart connection to reality couldn't be disconnected. So I knew I could ask for help. And in your case, I think it's the same thing.
I think
Same
so
thing as an
too.
like a
I
feminine principle version of it.
Yeah, it was I like I've often asked you, my capacity for love and my joy of life was so strong. It was like so strong. And now it's just gone.
Mm.
But it was it was like I loved that so deeply. I loved life so deeply. I loved everyone in my life so deeply and completely, and was so in the matrix that that true unconditional love, just like you said, and I'm just repeating it, I guess, in Katie speak,
Paraphrase, yeah.
couldn't be, it's like it couldn't continue existing in that inverted reality,
Mm, exactly.
right?
Something had to give.
That's basically what you're saying. Something
Mhm.
had to give. Like, people have always clung to me because of my ability to love, but they weren't giving in the same respect. And
Exactly.
so I was depleting myself endlessly. And it was by no fault of anyone. We
No.
are all unique journeys, unique capabilities, unique capacity for this, that, the other thing. I just couldn't do it for any of them anymore.
Mm. And
Yeah.
it's like you didn't have the words. That this is the thing. When God said about the inversion, we have an experience we don't have the words for. And that's what happens. That's how life works. In a sense, that's the beginning of reversing the inversion within us, is because our heart connection, that uh, something is happening, is too powerful to disconnect from, but our mind can't describe it. Now,
Right.
that is exactly how life is meant to be. It moves from the feminine into the masculine. It's just the ego that controls can't handle that. It needs to be first. It needs to know everything first. And then that's where you're supposed to connect to life. But it doesn't work that way. So
Mm-mm.
at some point, this is what it feels like a collapse. It feels like a loss of everything, but
It
really
feels
it's
like a
just
backwards. Feels like you're
backward. But it's
backwards.
really, and in a sense, you're going back to the way things should be. But it takes time for the mind to catch up, and the ego that controls is arguing every step of the way as well.
Well,
And that's what we know.
it's arguing because everyone around you isn't righting the ship like you are. They don't know there's a ship to be righted.
Exactly.
Like, so not only are we weighed down with the unlearning, the deprogramming, the relearning, and like losing the patterns, and I don't know,
And the emotional
balancing,
release of all the suppressed energy that's been holding back.
which you kindly and lovingly remind me is finite. Love is
Exactly.
infinite. That is finite. That expression of all of that stuff that you
Hmm.
kept, like the beach ball under the water. Right
Unlimited.
now, for the last 4 or 5 years, the beach ball was,
Boing, ka-chung.
and so not only are you saddled with this incredible responsibility, which is an absolute gift. I wouldn't have it any other way. But you are walking, as the Nazarene did, in the opposite direction of everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, nearly everybody else. Everybody on this call is walking in that direction, but and most anyone I keep in my precious energy field has precious energy. If it's not a mix, I'm not doing Thanksgiving, I'm not doing Christmas. I can't do the obligatory shit anymore. I haven't been able to for a long time. But so you're saddled with the weight of your own growth and expansion, and then you're saddled with the judgment of everyone out there that you now have to learn to not give a shit about. When
Yes.
all your life, that's all you gave a shit about was everyone else's
And
opinion.
correct. And not only that, but you're doing it without a map, a compass, or any sort of guidebook. There's no words yet, and they come next. Now, that is exactly what happened to me after I asked for help. And I had no idea what I was experiencing until way later. But when I look back at the precision of every moment, it it still blows me away. I keep on having, like, I wake up, in the morning, you're in this sort of astral space where there's less mind in the way, and I'll have recall of events, and it'll click why they happen and how they fit, and it's like, whoa. It's like not a single moment was about anything else other than answering the question and bringing me to the truth that I was asking for. And I didn't have to do it. In fact, the less I got in the way,
Yeah.
the faster it happened and the more efficiently it happened. But I was really disoriented. It's very
Disoriented. That's
disoriented,
it. And I'm
completely
sorry I'm
disoriented.
over here laughing. When you're talking, nobody can see me. So don't worry. When I'm laughing at you silently, they can't see me.
Yes, I
Only
saw that in the replay.
the,
Thank you for reminding me of
The
that.
reason I'm giggling is because you are saying that after you asked for help and then you came to a certain awareness and you turned around and every single thing you could see the precision of every single moment. I was laughing because I'm like, even me and my fifth day of being in the same pajamas eating ice cream on the couch because I can't handle anything else, even that moment is
Yeah,
precisely ordained. Even that
absolutely.
moment.
Absolutely. Totally. And this is the thing that because, at the moment, the guilt and obligation is a particularly big entrenched pattern in females because of the nature of the feminine guilt and obligation to the pattern to be responsible for the. Why is there what's this thing with guilt and obligation? Because there's a love deficit that has to be held by someone and someone has to be responsible for keeping the love deficit managed so that we can all delude ourselves that there's no love deficit. And that's
Yep.
always to the deepest female in the room, the one who can hold unconditional love in the purest way. My wife was one of them, you're one of them. I've met
Yep.
plenty of women like that.
Yep.
So what's the first thing that you have to get a handle on? You're put into whatever situation you need to be in that brings up all of the guilt and obligation, that
Yep.
argues with you doing what you're doing, and yet you can't do anything else. So when you look back, the reason that you'll be in a position when you can look back is because of this, not
Because of the
despite.
5 days in the pajamas with the ice cream on the couch.
You just got to keep on bringing yourself back to, okay, my mind's telling me this is wrong, but what do I know? Maybe it isn't. And,
Maybe it
and again,
isn't.
disorienting because you're not going to get an answer straight away. And
No.
the thing about sacred masculine being shut down, I keep hearing Mike, there's got to be a one-liner from
Don't
Mike
you
somewhere.
you just stay there. Any one-liners
Okay,
from Mike,
I'll
I'll
leave it.
share with you.
I'll leave it to you. Oh, stash tinsel is still repeating on me. Um, yeah, but it's
Roseanne says that bag of chips was divine. Okay. Sorry. I know you're in a really important thing, and I'm just getting sassy because I hear what you're saying about it being divine and orchestrated, and who am I to know if that's wrong? And this is what I was supposed to do, Byron Katie, because it is what happened. It is what I'm doing. And I'm just like, okay, all right, if you say so, the 5 days
well,
of
look. I
same
mean, Ramana,
pajamas.
one of the core things with satsang is when you argue with what is, you suffer. So there's two sides to that. Firstly, is here you are, you feel like you want to die every single morning. And no matter what you try, you can't change that. However, maybe it's a doorway, not a block. I can't feel it or see it any other way, but there are plenty of masters throughout history who've said the same thing in different ways. So the way
Yeah.
Ramana said, that's how you feel, and this is what you think about it. Instead of arguing it, how about we meet the feeling as it is? Stop telling it what it should and shouldn't be, and just let it be there. Because what can we do? It's there anyway. And then look at the belief around it. Look at what we're thinking. Guilt and obligation is a classic one. Maybe I'm thinking about all of this the wrong way. Now that's going to bring up a lot of anger to the other victim perpetrator. And that's what it's meant to do. And it's okay to act, it's okay to react, it's okay to fall back in inverted commas, it's okay to kind of like have these patterns that you operate from and not have any other way to see anything and have the question, yeah, but what's the truth? Maybe there's something I'm missing. What's the truth? What that does is completely destroy the foundation, subconscious foundation that whole scenario can exist from. And when that happens, that's why you can't control it. But that destabilizing of the subconscious belief systems, because remember, this all comes from childhood when we didn't have the words. We didn't have the words. So it's
But
just
that
a
is that why
feeling.
I don't have the words now? Because you have asked me for years to name it, to think about it, to imagine it, to ask it. And everyone asks me to ask it, and I don't have words.
No.
It's a weight, it's a darkness, it's a
Hmm.
heaviness I can't describe.
And you want it to go away. And you want to use all the old strategies that everybody's been mind control conditioned with to deal with that, which just make the problem exist, make it real as if it's what we think it is when it isn't. That's the whole problem. So, of course, the approach to get rid of it comes from the idea that it is what we think it is and it shouldn't be there. And that doesn't work. So, when you hold the feeling as it is, two things happen. You're looking for the question, you want to name it because when you were a kid, you didn't have the word. So that moment, that feeling has a name. God told me it's important to name it. That's what he's talking about. So you got the question, you don't have the answer yet, but holding the question takes you through all the mind conclusions and all the impact that that's had to suppress the energy, to release enough of it to get it out of the way so that you can receive the answer. Because when you ask the question at the start of this, the answer would not make sense. You have to go through a process of destabilizing the foundation so that there's a space that exactly matches that word. And your heart will go bing, you'll recognize it. It'll be an aha moment. But it has to
My,
come to you. You can't
yeah.
do it. You
It
can't
has
make
to
it happen.
it has to be my aha moment.
It's the
You
need
can't,
to make it happen that makes the entire world operate the way it does right now. And that's
yeah,
the problem. It
yeah.
needs us to operate that way to exist. So the work you're doing and I'm doing and everyone here is doing is to destroy the external. The only way to destroy those of the interference, the control system, central banking system, the mind control system, every facet of what God called the octopi that binds in our physical civilization is to look back at how it works in us. And the impact that that has on the physical cannot be underestimated because that's where it comes from in the first place. We've just been pulled out of that awareness. So it takes time because the sacred masculine, in other words, the belief system that can be objective in the face of all of this, needs time to come back into your hands. It
Yeah,
takes time.
yeah.
And it's that question that does it. But the other thing that it does is create delayed gratification,
Mhm.
causes the feminine to deepen into the divine version, which is the ability to hold the feeling and regulate yourself, not
Mhm.
act, not react.
Yeah.
And again, that takes time. And you're going to react. It's all going to happen. That's why God said it, your motivation is your protection in all things. Same old thing, but your intention is to see through it to the truth now. And that changes your whole trajectory. You've switched off as a transmitter and you switch back on as a receiver and ask and you shall receive. That's what it means. If you've got the question, what's really going on here? You will get the answer. And that process will take everything out of the way that stops you
Yep.
from seeing
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
at
And
some point, you'll look back and see,
I
wow.
know. I believe you when you say that. There's something in me that knows at some point I'll turn around and it'll be an aha and it'll just be like, oh my God. But
It'll
like
come.
but right now, you hear about how many years that I've felt this way and you feel like a failure by today's standards. So that's where you were always reminding me form and timing, Katie. Don't get hung up on form and timing. You're on God's time. You are not on your time. But the impatience is so ingrained in our society, in our family members, in our children, our friends, and everything we watch and read, and that
It's all you see, it's all you've ever seen. So
it's
it's
like
very,
it's all I've ever seen. So my impatience, maybe it isn't even my own. Maybe I would love to sit around for
that,
5 days in the same pajamas having ice cream and saying
yeah.
fuck you to the world. But the projections or the programming and the conditioning is what makes me shame it all. I don't
That's
know.
right. And in fact, the ability to act from your heart might come to you in the moments where you pull away and retreat from life, that you need an in-breath in order to have an accurate out-breath. You know, the two go together, and we've been trained to just be in doing, and we don't stop and reflect. And they
Mm-mm.
need us to do that. They need to accelerate it because time is speeding up. Time, you know, our ability to take in more of the moment is getting more powerful. That's why they've put all this stuff about ADHD. They've tried to block that natural process as much as they can with frequency weapons, biological weapons. That's really all it's about. Because the fifth dimension's impact on the fourth dimension is transforming the three physical dimensions. So our relationship is we can experience more of reality in 1 second than we used to be able to. And if we're able to receive that fully, we'll move through the transition really fast.
Fast.
And they're
That's
throwing
why
everything
they're
at you.
hammering us one after another with a
Yeah.
psyop or a crisis or an illness or like the ADHD, all that stuff. So, so our expanded consciousness, our increased capacity to hold all of this in greater depth for greater lengths of time is what is getting us pummeled even harder. It's
Yes.
so ironic and maddening
That's why
and
you had that
beautiful.
dream. That's why you had that dream with the one that fell. Your light is too strong. Because again, their ability to hold us back is finite. Darkness is an absence of light. There's only so much um, they can do in the face of our awareness. And at this point now, the digital ID thing, the 2030 agenda, the whole thing
Yeah,
going on
we
with
want to
UN
talk about
playing out now,
that.
they're moving too fast. It's
Yeah.
obvious that it's a totalitarian takeover. It's just obvious to a lot of people that this is about totalitarianism. That's it, full stop. Now, that
Okay.
awareness can't be put back.
Okay. Okay. See, now you and I are talking to each other in our own echo chamber. And I know the conversations are being had more frequently. Like you get into an Uber and you talk with the driver and you can't believe the shit that they're thinking and saying. So I guess I'm answering my own question, right? Like thank God. Um, but you and I sitting here talking with everybody in the chats, like in a sense, we're in our own echo chamber. So it's like, are they really aware of the totalitarianism? Are they really aware it is this massive? Like, like everyone I'm talking to is still like having utter frustration at everyone around them walking around oblivious.
Yeah.
But are they really like what's really happening? I
Well,
don't.
look, the reason family system constellation work, which came in through Bert Hellinger, the reason that's one of the four central modalities to help this is because it recognizes that the family, for instance, is a system, a conscious system. There's a genetic connection which creates like a microcosm of the collective consciousness. So it's a microcosm of the human race. So you don't need the whole family to agree with you. All you need is one person to be aware, to want to know what the problem underneath the family system is that everyone's sharing. As soon as one person, again, it's important to name, but a family system constellation workshop, particularly the best version is live, where you have people playing all the members of your family and you pick someone to play you and you step out and you let the spirit of the problem describe itself. And it's mind blowing how often it can be very different to what we think. We haven't, like subconscious, we haven't seen into the subconscious of the family system. But as soon as one person sees it, the impact that has on the family system over the next 2 years is huge. Everyone else in the family can't get away with it in the way they used to. So light spreads. It's darkness is just an absence of light. They'll have things happen in their lives, coincidences that pull apart their facade. And then you'll do another one and you'll go deeper. Now, the same thing is happening with the 100th monkey effect, the critical mass of human race. Too many people wanted to know that exactly what all of us on the call did. If this is all there is to life, what's the point? There's got to be a better way or I'm gone. Now that as soon as you do that, you switch back on as a receiver because now there's a question where there never was one before. What's the real truth? And you can't go back. As soon as you hit the wall at that level, I would rather die than keep living this way. You can't go back. That question's got you forever now. And you can ignore it all you want. You can push it away. You can run away all you want, but it'll find you and pull you back and
So
destroy
it's
any
so so
mechanisms.
hitting the wall's a blessing.
The best thing that can happen, and the human race is going through the same process, and it's inevitable. It can't be stopped. Every single timeline converges on one 0 point, which is the transition of the human race back to our original state. And everything that isn't of that is being brought out into the open. That's all that's happening because awareness. Now, all the people who have been ignoring this, and remember, the sense of disquiet in you can be there for a long time before you're willing to name it and admit it. So you'll fight against it. The reason they get so angry and reactionary with us is because of that. It's not because they think that you're wrong and they're right, and that's it. It's because there's a voice in them that's telling them they're wrong. And you're reflecting that back to them. That's it. And the reason it's getting more and more intense, the polarity, is because that voice is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the point where they will collapse. And the deep state, those of the interference, they're getting hit by this the hardest of anyone. So they're fighting back really hard. Think of what's playing out now with the UN Agenda 2030 and all the governments around digital
I'd
ID,
rather not think
China.
of it.
Think of it as ego death. They're going through ego death and they're fighting for survival. So in the end times, which is this, the end times isn't the death of everything. It's the fourth dimension coming back to dual nature, masculine and feminine, which is what's happening. The charlatans reveal themselves, the people pretending to be the ones in charge who, are looking after us, who really it's just they're destroying reality and they're doing it without permission. Um, their ability to get away with that is gone. But the way again, ancient sort of code, the fourth beast shall rise from the sea. The corporations align with Admiralty law, which is a system of slavery based on our birth certificate, which is what their digital ID is about. They're trying to get that final step where we separate from common law and we give our permission to the corporations to take over the entire world. And that's all that's happening. That has to be brought out into the open. Now, they have to make their move. At some point, they have to make their move. And once that happens, it has to be timed perfectly because they can't go back. They've shown themselves. What they're trying to do is make it a fait accompli, that we can't actually undo it. So they're trying to bring in this feeling that it's an inevitable force and the
Right.
world's going to crap and there's nothing we can do. But that's already happened. It's too late. It's
Yeah, so that makes me think you and Sam and I were talking earlier tonight. Like, I don't have a job right now. I don't have to fly anywhere. I took all my money out of the matrix and put it into metals. Like, I don't have to comply to the digital ID in any of the ways everybody else in the workforce, the education with children who have to travel for that. Like, how do they avoid it? What do we do?
yeah, look, again, it has to be complete or it doesn't work because free will has to be honored. The human race chose through free will is the golden law of the universe. It cannot be interfered with. Why do you think their plan, if they wanted to take over the world straight away, why didn't they do it in Atlantis? Because that's not the name of the game. The one that fell, it's not about money, it's not about the deep state, any of the motives behind the human side of those of the interference. That's not what the
That's
game is.
not
If you know
it.
their face and their name and their motive, you're not looking at the big picture. The big picture is the one that fell, that shadow created by the ego being wanting to be the all that is. In other words, infinite. the ego, it's like the body mind, it's finite. It's a car that the soul, we as a soul, the truth of who we are, climb into for a finite period of time to have an experience. The one that fell just recognize it's like we fully identify with the mind as if that's who we are. And of course, we're going to die. So we're afraid of death. So we want to make it ourselves permanent. And that's really what the one that fell represents, the net effect of that throughout the universe in one motive. So the only way this will work is to get us to choose by free will to let that happen. Now that's why the plan has been so incremental over such a long period. Let's just take it from the Roman Empire. They pull it in and then they normalize it. There's a white hat group that's been fighting back the whole time, the Magna Carta, etc., keeping common law alive while it's like a wrestling match that's been going on under the surface of herd mentality, mob rule, the human race. We've been plagued in this emotional reactionaryism while this wrestling match between the white hats and the dark hats that are working with the one that fell. So that's all coming to culmination now. So we have to choose it for it to work, but we didn't. We chose to wake up. So everything about what's playing out is forcing the physical to conform to that choice, which is once we see the full story, we have to see the full story. We
So
have to
that's
wake
what
up
you
to the truth.
mean it has to complete?
It has to come. It's already done, but now the physical has to show up because everybody has to see what we have to. The only way we can come back to the truth is to see through all of the lie, how it worked. Because how does it work? We give our free will to it, thinking it's us. We're choosing. Think of the agents in the Matrix analogy. The Neo's walking. Neo's got the question, what's the truth? As soon as you ask the truth, you're walking in the opposite direction to the control system because that's what they want to avoid. The truth is we've got to go through our fear and self-doubt in order to get back to who we were. And we don't want to do that. So we're going to pretend like this this mode of being is the one that works, and we'll push everything away because I don't want to feel that feeling anymore. That's all it is. So as soon as Neo's asking that question, he's walking in the opposite direction to everyone else, and that's what attracts attention because of the contrast. The frequency he's consciously trying to bring it back up is the exact opposite to the inversion. Think of those of the interference. Everything in the universe emerges from a single frequency into multiple frequencies. Atomic structure comes from that. So it's just light. A holographic projection, which we call atomic structure, is the physical side. But the inversion, the inverse reality of that is just a mental construct. It's just a belief system. It's a mind control program. So that's what the agents represent. So someone will be walking down next to him, a complete zombie. They're not here. They're in this sort of false reality of their head, and boof, the contrast, they snap their heads to Neo, and all of the belief system comes pouring out of them to shut him down. So we think we're getting rid of the problem, but we're actually defending ourselves. We're defending the problem against the solution. So that reactionaryism, the sleepers in the world are defending the problem against the solution by shutting us down. They have to see that. That has to be seen because the human race has to understand that we aren't victims. We aren't victims and they're not perpetrators. Without us thinking that that's reality and they have power over us, it can't exist. So us coming back to the reality that our free will is where all the power is. That's the copper top battery analogy.
Okay, so the copper top battery analogy, I need that and
That's what you've done.
clarified.
You've withdrawn your energy from the old system in order to find a new way. That's why it's so important to disconnect.
Okay. So I've withdrawn my energy. They're not getting my loose. They're not getting loose from me.
No.
Even though I'm sad.
Well, you're not
So
letting that run you anymore.
no, I'm not letting that run me. You're right. I'm not letting it dictate what I do or don't do. In a sense, we all know I grapple with all that too. But oh God, okay. So when you were just talking about the agents in the Matrix and when Neo, basically the Nazarene for all intents and purposes, is walking with this expanded consciousness and frequency, and they catch wind of that difference in the Matrix, and the belief pours out of them to stop him. That reminded me of when you shared with me of the shepherds coming to the cave to feed Ramana as he was in seclusion to make sure he had sustenance and stayed alive, and looking into his eyes awakened them. Like
No,
it's the same, but in the
yeah,
other direction.
that's how it happened. I mean, he was 14 years old in what they call samadhi, which is like meditation. He was in complete astral, and he couldn't. He lasted about a week after he saw his dad's dead body, eyes open. He realized that it was the light. The light was gone. It's the light that we are, the physical, the eyes aren't
Yeah.
who we are.
No.
It's the light that animates everything. And he woke up because he was a kid. He didn't have too much mind in a way. So he lasted a week in the normal life, and then he just left, walked out, goes to a place called Mount Arunachala, which is a sacred mountain. India, the reason Ramana came in India, that came through India, was because they have a tradition of supporting the guru. They recognize it firstly. They have this very old tradition of what a guru is and how to see it. And he just sat in samadhi in a cave. He had no investment in anything. It didn't matter. And that wasn't who he was. And then goat herders noticed him and started to gather. They realized what was happening. He was in samadhi. So they would bring him food,
Right.
push it in his mouth, and just sit there. He wouldn't speak at all.
Right.
And he would find someone, he would just know who was close, and he would stare straight at him. And they would stare back and
Wake
then
up.
wake up because of the frequency match.
Exactly.
His heart,
Exactly. But isn't that kind of along the lines of like it was a frequency mismatch when Neo caught the attention of the agents in the Matrix. So that's why their belief system poured out of them to stop him. But if you turn it around, we were all agents of the Matrix ourselves until we weren't.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like Ramana with even those people not in his bloodline, those that were feeding him, that he woke up simply like by osmosis and being close, like basically snapped them awake like a living family systems constellation, but not in his bloodline, simply by
No.
being in his presence intensely and with
But this is
love.
the thing about, when you surrender your free will back to its source, he went where his heart took him. The thing is, the goat herders had a similar dynamic to him. They didn't have too much mind in the way. They were very close
Yes.
to the land.
Yeah,
They had less inversion in their minds,
that makes
and their
sense.
their connection to the planet, their physical connection to their planet and heart connection was a lot clearer. So they had a
Lot
lot less.
clearer.
So that was
Yep.
the first group, and then word
Yep.
spread from there.
Yep. Yep.
And then he would say things here and there after that group.
Morgan shared an Eckhart Tolle quote in the chats. Life begins to hold you the moment you stop fighting the current. You don't have to control the water, only learn how to float.
Exactly.
Right,
That's the
right,
one.
right, right.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
didn't want that to go by. That was earlier on in our conversation about, the resistance that we all have because we don't understand what we're doing. We somehow know there's a purpose, but we don't know what we're doing. It's just like, go ahead, you sit on your, couch in the same clothes for 5 days eating ice cream if you have to.
Mm.
Your purpose is greater. Just learn how to float with those feelings that your brain is hammering at you because of the programming
Yeah.
you've endured, like all of us have. And then
Meet the
Morgan,
resistance. I mean, what is it we're resisting?
what is it we're
Really,
resisting?
what is it we're resisting? Are we resisting the thing that's threatening us, or are we resisting the solution, the truth?
I don't
Great
know.
question.
Well,
The only way to
it's a
find out is to
great
let fear
question.
come and get you.
Get you. Right, right. You can't, yeah. All you can do is see it and it will let you go. That's Ramana as well, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said,
you
don't,
just
yeah,
said
you
that
can't let it
today.
go. All you can do is be
Do
willing to
is
see it and it will let you go. The only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you.
get you.
What if it is what I think it's going to kill me?
Yeah.
But what if it isn't?
Yeah. So Morgan also says more recently in the chat, I have done the family constellation work via drawing on paper, both with myself and clients, and have been astounded with how powerful it also works through that avenue as well, drawing on paper. Like
Great.
Arna and I did, I think Brenda and I did like a little bit with paper and writing and stuff like
Oh,
that. Yeah.
she's on to
Yeah.
you, so don't worry, there's more coming.
Okay. It sounds like a threat. Does she watch these? Is she gonna know you just threatened me with your wife?
No, she doesn't. She's got her own.
She's got her own stuff going on.
Oh, she's
So
very.
so the digital ID. So humanity has to see it in its entirety. Does that mean it succeeds? Like
No, it won't succeed.
it
It
won't.
won't succeed. But the thing is, we have to see that we've been conduits. We've allowed ourselves to act as conduits for the inversion. Without
Right.
us doing it, it can't
Right.
work.
Right.
So it's one of the things that really crystallizes the fact there's a they with an agenda, it's not good. And we've just let it happen. But now it's enough, like stop now. And then that's going to
Yeah.
spread.
And those who have awakened, myself and those in the chats and on the calls and in the communities, which there's a God wave hitting the planet. Like the awakening, the great awakening is so palpable. But those of us who awakened early and chose it are basically living through and going through everything humanity is going to go through. Because a minute ago you said something about, I don't know, their belief systems crumbling, them crumbling, and our job is going to be to cradle them, to hold them through this because we've already done it.
Right. Now, that's the thing. God told me about what's coming, what's happening right now. He said, we are reversing the inversion with you. Now, that's with our sense of self and with our help, the world. Connect. That's what we're doing. We are bringing you back across the valley you should not have crossed, the valley of the mind, getting the ego and the heart in the wrong order. The heart's pushed out and the ego runs the show. That's not how it's meant to be. So the valley of the mind, our attention is stuck in our thinking. So to pull it
Yep.
up higher so we can understand and get the heart
Yeah,
connection
get the
back in
big
charge.
picture. Yes.
That's why you're
Get the
stuck in a
soul in the
situation
driver's
that
seat.
where you're stuck in a situation you can't control, but you're there. You can't move out of it. So that undoes the mind's stranglehold over
Yeah.
the feeling. There's nothing to hold. It's like an assumption that's right. The only way to cure it is to have a direct experience of the truth that you do have what it takes to meet life, and life's worth meeting. Now, the Arcturians describe what's playing out as the great coming to. This is starting in December, right? Big
Yep.
time. December.
Yep.
The next 18 months, when they show it to me, it's blank. It's
Yep.
it's completely different to the previous 12,000 years. The paradigm won't last. That's why it's not, there's no form to it, but it's
Mhm.
inevitable that the form it takes will be what they describe as the catalyst is the great coming together and the great falling apart is the way they describe this process. So the paradigm collapse that's going to be playing out is, for us, it's crystallizing everything. The events that come to us, disclosure uh, of our galactic of ET, open contact with ETs that's coming down the line, the exposure of the government, what they really are, the media, the control system, blah blah blah. That's really
Hollyweird.
what's happening now for
Hollyweird. Don't
everybody.
forget Hollyweird because they sell a
Hollywood.
lot of this to people.
Well, that's the control of the flow of information is where it all begins and ends because we believe the lie, and that's what kills it. So that's for a lot of people who, no, 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 nothing to see. The paradigm collapse will, it's the great falling apart. So many people are going to collapse. Their whole world is going to fall apart. He said of it, God said of it, it's better for you if you choose it. It's happening anyway. Full stop, end of story. It's happening anyway, regardless
Yeah.
of what anyone thinks about anything. Their whole world will come back to reality. That's it.
Yep. So Roseanne says, so we need to take responsibility is basically what
Exactly. Now, what
because
happens when you take responsibility? Firstly, you get all the pain and blame and guilt and judgment. And the thing we've been running away from is, oh my God, I'm the one creating it. I'm the one doing it. And all I've got to do is stop doing it. Now, firstly, we don't, that's why we never wanted to go there, right? Your
that
head's
was
in your hand.
very
You're going, oh my
funny. Like,
God.
oh my God.
But what happens next? all the power back in your hands. Neo in the last scene of the Matrix, he doesn't even care about the agents who are tripling in number. He's
Now
like,
he's
yeah, whatever.
laughing. He's like,
And
whatever.
his eyes like, wow, now I get it.
Yeah.
The answer he's always been looking for is the one he could never see because he was always looking out there. And he was brought through a process, subconscious, the Nebuchadnezzar, of realizing he always had the power. He always had the power. He never went anywhere. He just
Always.
couldn't see it that way.
Right. And it's
Now he
not that,
can.
but then we get caught up in blaming ourselves for not seeing it.
Now
We
that's
get
the
caught
bit.
up in blaming ourselves for having the power and not knowing we have the power. And there's a big thing in spirituality. I was just having a talk with somebody today who going to Thanksgiving, she just gets shamed for her dietary choices. And it's just this toxic conversation. And I just basically said, don't go. Like, why are you going if
Yeah.
that's what it is? Like you're
Call him out.
going for obligatory reasons instead, like when you choose yourself. But there's this spirituality thing of like oneness, and like if you truly understand oneness,
Hmm.
then she would choose herself, her peace, her self respect, self love, whatever, over that. You don't, just because we are all one doesn't mean you have to mix your precious energy with those who want to attack you with theirs. Like it's
Now
very
that's
different.
No, that's the thing. In that case, you're still going through your own process of getting clear what's really going on. And that process needs to be honored. And in a way, you're just facilitating the inversion by playing the game.
By playing
And
the
there's that
game.
thing like standing in the truth, having more respect for the truth and the reality that you don't fully understand it yet, but that's all that matters. And that anything that pulls you out of that is getting in the way of the truth,
Right.
the reality of why I feel this way and what's really going on. You got that question, and self-respect is respect for that question as well. And you don't facilitate them. Now, a lot of this, remember, this guilt that comes up and obligation is because when we were first shocked out of pure being, and it is, there's no question, it's all one. And we never had the question when we pull out of that as kids, we don't have a name for it.
No.
So it gets more and more complicated. But
Right.
that's all it is. It's like we thought the problem was ours and it never was. And we distorted ourselves to wrap around the problem and get rid of it so that we are the right person for them not to react that way. And all we do is make it worse and worse and worse. So really, what you're doing is coming back to that who you were before all of that happened to get clear what the truth is. So
Mm.
you're bringing the adult, the mother, the father, the parent that you never had back as yourself to that child and holding them in love so
Yep.
that they understand it was never them.
Yep.
It was never us.
Yep.
Now, the process that does is inevitably going to kick up all the
It's
reactionaryism within
ugly. It's a
your
horribly
system. Needs
uncomfortable.
everybody to believe the lie for the lie to seem true. And if anyone starts getting away, they want to slam it down. It's all that's
Yes.
happening. The agents in the matrix are getting rid of the threat that the lie, this is the right way. So
Yeah.
they're trying to blame you for being the
Oh,
problem,
yes.
which just
Yes.
plays on that original feeling that we're the problem. The only solution is to recognize that we aren't the problem, which means sometimes to go somewhere properly, you got to go a long way out of your way. It feels like we need to spiritualize away the reactionaryism, or we need to just not play the game
Yeah.
somehow. But either way, we're engaged with it. But to be completely free is to come back to pure being, that it has nothing to do with us. Neo
Yeah.
he didn't care about the conditioning. Didn't have
Yeah.
his attention. The flow of life and the divine order and the connection to love in life that's all that
I
matters. And anyone who
I
can't stay with this just has to be, we're facilitating, we're helping them, we're serving them more by not letting them get away with it. But it
yes,
has to be
yes.
free of
There's
anger.
yes, 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 yes. I've been in this constant tug of war since my awakening around the holidays. The holidays are really just like, I absolutely do not want to partake in the holidays. And for the last couple of years, I haven't done Thanksgiving, but I've kind of been like, okay, I'll do Christmas. I think this year I'll finally not do Christmas,
Here it
but
comes.
I really don't think I'm going to do it. But it's never out of anger. It's never. it's truly honoring myself. If when I'm there, I'm not comfortable, I can't be fully me, there isn't there isn't a joyous flow that I would want in any sort of celebration I attend. There's none of that for me. And then there's the old tug of war of, well, if I don't, like it's been years now since I've really been in the family. Years. And I
Yeah.
have that programming of what if there's a too late? What if I am never welcomed back again?
This is an example of satsang. There's the feeling, there's the thinking, and there's the question. Yes, but is
Can
that
I
can
know
I
it's
really know
true?
that's true?
I
That's
can't
that's
know
all it
that.
is. And this just happens layer after layer after layer, the same dynamic, and you're not going to get clarity straight away. But the clarity you're looking for comes because you're willing to hold that. And there's lots of versions of it
The
that come to
gap.
us.
You call it the gap.
You're willing to hold that and let the question, yeah, but what's the real truth? Is that real truth? Maybe that's not the real truth. And
Maybe it's
the
not the
lie
real truth, but
the
what
lie
if it
can't
is?
survive that. The lie can't survive. Well, yeah, but that's the only way to let fear know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. It isn't real. Love has no opposite. There is only one frequency. And an absence of our experience of that frequency is all darkness is. It's the moment of the realization of the love of the all that is that we've yet to have. That's why time creates reality. Time's the doorway that brings spirituality into physical form. So one moment gives us the opportunity to experience a love of the all that is that we are and everything is that we haven't had yet. And it's just one moment after the next. That's all real. Fear is a mental construct.
I
It's a
know.
belief system, but
I
you've got to
know the
feel it. You've
things.
got to feel it.
I don't want them to not welcome me back.
It's not about what you know. It's about what you connect with directly experience. And that's all you're doing, right? You're
I
getting,
want to always be welcome. Last year, they
it's
said to
coming.
my mom, tell her not to come.
It's
It'll be
coming.
weird. Who
It's coming.
says that?
It's coming. Yeah, you know,
Okay.
my father just recently told my daughter Gareth's never amounted to anything.
No, I'm sorry, Gareth.
But you know what though? It didn't touch me because I understand. I
You're light years
understand.
ahead of me.
He just named something. Well, I mean, look, it's again, this is what starts to happen. These moments where 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have reacted to that. I would have really felt it.
Yep.
It just tells me, it just went through me because I know it's not true. I know he doesn't understand because he doesn't know me. And of course he doesn't know me. I mean, he's never really spent any time with me. He doesn't understand. And I've had to stay. That's why I was showing the image. Well, that's why I had the clear sight 5D experience when I was 2, where mum and her friend were saying, does he remember anything? They couldn't see what I was seeing, that everything is one. And it was because of the way they think. And I had to hold myself. I was always wary of their description of reality from 2 years old onwards. I knew they didn't have the full understanding.
Hmm.
So I had to go with what that golden thread was taking me through. Now, or in order to do that in the most direct, pure way, I had to not get too involved in the family. So I separated myself from them. So there's a reason he didn't want to go, really, because the reality of the truth of who I am can't exist in their reality. That's it. So I had to stay in my own heart and navigate my way through that with the minimum impact as possible. So I didn't get my soul purpose wasn't deflected. And he couldn't hold that. That's it. But the time is going
So
to come when he can't get away with
that's what
that.
I was just going to ask you. So if you say to me, or Sam, or Mike, or Ann, or Lynn's, if you say to us, it's coming, Katie, it's coming, it's coming, they'll know, they'll see, it's coming. Does that go for you? Does that go for your
Everybody.
dad?
Yeah,
Like, there's all these people who are like, some people are not going to wake up in this lifetime. And I want to
naturally.
throttle them and tell them to just be quiet
With
about
all
something you don't know.
with all due respect, and I mean this with love, and they need to own this, they don't know what they're talking about.
Good, good.
Now, don't take my word for it. Go
either.
and find out.
Of course. Like, yeah, on one level you're saying, I don't know what I'm talking about other than the direct experience. I'm talking about what I believe, what you believe. Yeah, yeah.
And that's all it is. Yeah, we
I
get out
get
of the
it.
mental construct, which is based on us. So we live life indirectly. That's why in the Matrix analogy, everyone's walking around like zombies. They're not actually here. They're somewhere in their head. So that's living everything through an indirect experience. That's what Ram and I meant. The only solution is to have a direct experience of the reality of life, which means challenging everything you think, which is not, they don't want to do that. But their ability to get away with that is based on the idea that the physical world still looks like the way they think. Now that won't last.
Good.
That is over the
It
next
shouldn't
18
last.
months.
It's false. It's
The
false. It's
paradigm,
not love.
the paradigm is collapsing, full stop. The paradigm shift is inevitable. The problem they have, and a lot of people have in the spiritual and online communities, is you can't see the paradigm that's coming from the old paradigm. That's
Mm-mm.
the nature of a paradigm shift. You have to be
Hmm.
comfortable with not knowing. And that's
They
the
keep,
whole inversion is based on not being comfortable with not knowing. So
yes,
of course it's
yes.
poof, that's the first
I
thing
have
that
to be
will.
the one who knows, and everyone's talking about the divide, split earth, and two, those who want to live in fear and those who want to live in love. And it's like, oh, no, no, no. Everyone wants to live in love. They're all going to come to the same place, and they're all getting there.
Yes.
What part of oneness don't you get?
That's why the Arcturians describe the timeline process as the great coming together and a great falling apart. Now, there are two ways to experience the same event. One is one is by collapsing first and then coming back. The other way, where we've already collapsed. We don't need to collapse. You've already collapsed.
Yeah.
And it's been tough, but you've got no investment in this paradigm. That's why you can't feel anything. So the same collapse process of the paradigm is you going, wow, finally.
Yeah.
Yay, oh my God, thank God. But it's the same endpoint because
Yes,
it's not some people that are transitioning, it's the human
it's the
race.
human race.
You can
Yes, and
transitions can't happen any other way. It's not about a transition like this cannot happen any other way. It's the race that moves up a dimension, the entire race. You can't leave anyone behind because we're all
no.
one. The whole
Absolutely.
point of the fifth
Absolutely.
dimension is unity. Unity.
Yes. 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 And we talked about this last night because there's also that my shaming myself and Anne got really excited when I said this because she's like, yes, exactly. That's how I feel. It's like we've done so much work.
Mm.
And we don't like calling it work, but you know what I mean. We've done so much of expansive understanding and taking the higher perspective and choosing love authentically, not in a bypassy, fake, shitty love and light fucking way, in the real way of seeing everything as one and choosing love, and yet feeling this despair, this blackness, this hopelessness, this suicidal whatever, still feeling it. And then I said it on the call, I said, yeah, but I think that not that I'm outsourcing my well-being, not that I'm outsourcing my work or my power or anything, but I do think there is a level of somewhere humanity needs to get to for me to keep going further in my progress of myself. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but it's like when the shit crumbles, I feel a little lighter. I get a
Yeah,
little giddy when the shit falls apart.
sure.
Because like you said, I have no investment in what's going on out there. So when and because I see it for what it is and it's dark, there's a veil of darkness in it all, and I know what's coming in some weird 5D way. I know what's coming. So when that crumbles, I get some levity. I get no relief unless I'm dead asleep. I get no relief from how sad I feel unless I'm asleep or I'm
Mm.
talking to you guys, right? But when that happens out there, I get a little relief. So I was shaming myself for feeling like, oh gosh, well, that makes my well-being contingent on what's going on in the external. And that's not what I'm saying at all. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But I mean, and those feelings again, there's the Arcturians explained to me that the last stage that we're all at, they showed it as a circle, the victim perpetrator loop. That's the strategy those of the interference have used for thousands of years is to keep us stuck. What God called the bottlenecking of souls, victim perpetrator. We blame each other, so we continually we think justice is about revenge, and so we act out as conduits for the very process. You know, to treat anyone else any other way than you want to be treated, it creates an imbalance, a karmic debt. You've got to keep coming back and coming back and
Yep.
coming back and correcting the imbalance. That's what they want. God said, you know, what are they trying to achieve? They're looking for a way to make the transition with you, which means they've got to stunt our evolutionary process by keeping us stuck. That's all that's ever been about. So this feeling of wanting to get back at them for the pain they've caused us, we have to let it be there, and we've got to think all that, and we've got to ask that question. Yeah, but is that really working? Does that work? I mean, in the end, do I want to be right or do I want to be free and happy?
Free,
And,
free. I don't wish what I've gone through
yeah,
on
but
my
you've got to go. You
family.
can't go around that feeling. You've got to go through it. We can't go around it. We have to go. So again, this is the process playing out for both sides of the camp. Is this collapse that the physical catalysts that start to bring about the collapse of the paradigm around us, the control system, exposing it basically.
Hmm.
There is a they with an agenda. No one can escape it. All the conspiracy theories now have a grain of truth, and they can't deny that. That process. Um, it means though in a lot of people that the pain they've been running from shows itself, and the anger at resisting it stops. The blame stops. So the force that we're reacting against starts to evaporate.
Yeah,
So it comes back to us that we see ourselves in them.
yeah,
We understand why they are the way they are because we come to a new understanding about how we were, like what was really
yeah.
a problem in our life. Oh my God, I believed a lie and I acted from it as if it were true. I was a victim, yes, but I was a perpetrator too of the same thing. They're not guilty of anything I'm not guilty of.
Mm-mm.
They're not doing anything I haven't been doing. I'm
Hmm.
just a lot further at being able to own it. But they're going through the same process now. So that whole reactionaryism stuff starts to fall away.
Yeah.
The way the Palladians put it about 2 years ago, they described the process coming to an end in December as the frequency wars, about a 2 year period. They said at the other side of that, when the next 18 months between now and 2027 play out, you will finally be able to see and hear each other. This is the one thing those of the interference do not want.
Yeah.
So our compassion for the other is a reflection of our love for self.
Yeah. Yeah.
All points converge.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have that feeling of wanting anyone to go through what I've gone through. In fact, I know how awful it's been. I really
I
don't
know.
have that revenge. It's more wanting them to see, wanting them to
Yeah.
have the understanding. Like honestly, if anything, I have compassion for them because I think I said it last week, like to go through this, what I'm going through, to feel like this and not have faith. Oh, but I
Mm.
have faith. So even when I feel like this, my faith keeps me
Starts
upright, keeps me going.
online. That's
Yeah.
what faith. That's the real meaning of faith. Take religion out of the picture.
Take
The real
religion
meaning
out.
of faith is trust that there is a truth, and I can't see it and I can't feel it, but the alternative is to die, and I can't believe that's what life's about. And the reality catches up with you, you know, and that's the same catalysts that are going to collapse there will bring ours together, and we'll see each other finally. Love, the love.
I'm smiling really, really big right now because Sam's in the chat. And
Bye,
she
Sam.
said she dropped a bunch of her wisdom. She said revenge is just the perpetuating of the old program. To see the human with love rather than vengeance, that is the second coming in all in like second
Totally.
coming, uppercase S and C. That is
Awesome.
the test. Can we be the Christ we came to be?
And you know what God
She
said about the
channels.
second
I'm
coming?
telling you, half the
Good on
stuff she
you.
says she channels. Sorry, what'd
Good
you
on you,
say?
Sam.
There's
You know,
Lynn's.
the way God put the second coming of the Nazarene, is there any truth to it? He said, yes, this time it's not the one, it's the many. That's the impact of why he let himself be executed. He could have stopped it at any time. It was part of the plan to take the truth of who we are into our consciousness so that it could erupt at the right time when this frequency hit. Three Eye Atlas is connected to that. So what it brought into the solar system when it went behind the sun and through the solar system is a frequency match to that frequency that's in our collective consciousness. So the two are being pulled up to the surface inevitably, and everything else has to conform. The way the Pleiadians put it before as 3i Atlas started coming through the solar system, at a certain point, I'll have to look back at the date to see where 3i Atlas was. They said, "It is done, you are free, all physical will now conform."
That's just like
That's the second
so
coming of Nazarene.
glorious.
We're all going to
Yep.
wake up to the truth of who we are. Why are you so amazed? This is who you are.
Right.
That's all
Right.
the Nazarene was about. That's why religion came in and shut it down so hard.
Yeah.
Now, that scenario, though, they convinced us. The Roman Empire convinced us, and we let them convince us, and it wasn't the truth. We didn't see through it. We wanted to believe that the Roman Empire had converted to Christianity. All they did
Right.
is take what he did and invert it back into their own form,
Mm-hmm.
and even became even more powerful. But the Nazarenes set that up. That was all set up. They were set up right from this. The human race was a trap for those of the interference right from the start, and that was where it was triggered. What you're
Yeah.
seeing now is just the end game.
Yes, this is the end game, right? In our lifetimes, not in a couple of 100 years, in the next 2 years.
No.
I keep
Not
saying
some
that.
people and not
Oh,
everyone all the time,
my
right?
God. I know, ridiculous. But that reminds me of a question Anne gave me earlier. Just a greater understanding of what the Nazarene taking a homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are into his system. Was that with his assassination? Is that with what does
Well,
that mean?
he is a concentrated homeopathic dose of the truth of what human beings are. So when he let himself be crucified, he took that energy into our collective unconscious.
How
So
does that translate? So when he allowed himself to be crucified, he took that concentrated dose of the truth, homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are. How does that work?
think of it, it will be okay, I'll explain it. He was the reason why he was artificially inseminated, the Star of Bethlehem thing. His mother had to be virgin. There was no previous frequency of another entity within
Person.
her
Yep.
system because that's what happens. But
Yep.
her bloodline went all the way back to Atlantis, to the same bloodline of the same direct lineage that the Nazarene brought in as the hawk when he set up civilization and he oversaw the seeding of planet Earth of human race. He was the one who put the whole thing together as the hawk, civilization in its divine order, etc. And it was all set up from the start, knowing what would happen. So that it was a trap for those of the interference. The one that fell came in and
Right.
started to mess with people, and the collapse happened. The Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader was effectively what happened in Atlantis. Now that lineage was what Mary, his mother, represented, and
Mm-hmm.
also the Magdalene had the same lineage.
Mm-hmm.
But his paternal DNA meant he couldn't have children. The way it
Right.
was, so he couldn't. He was human. He was with us, but he wasn't complete. That wasn't complete yet. So what happened is that those of the interference, by letting them execute him, they chose to complete that by letting him die. As soon as he died, as soon as he allowed himself to die, that completed the entire frequency range that he brought in. He didn't need to have children. It was in our genetic DNA. It was the whole
It
frequency
was in our genetics.
was brought into our was
So
into
his
our
death was a completion.
His death was a completion, but they chose it. That's what completed the trap. As soon as they chose it, they were trapped. They could not escape the outcome because they chose to join the plan to connect the dots. And as soon as they did that, they were inevitably connected to the outcome. They couldn't escape it. And that was always done deliberately. But that frequency match is who we were as a human race before we were shut down to 10%. That's why the mismatch between the frequency of where we were and the frequency where we were at 2,000 years ago meant that there was too much of a mismatch for him to have kids.
Right.
But that frequency needed to be brought into our DNA. Now, there's two ways to do that. One is to have a bloodline, kids. The
Hmm.
other way is to just go into our collective unconscious. So they gave permission for that frequency to be inevitably embedded in the genetic potential of every human on the planet. But by telling his brother James and the Magdalene to have children, he
Right.
set up
And James was close to that energetic signature
James
because he
was the
was
next
very close in age.
he was the next closest thing because when he was in utero, the Nazarene's frequency was still present in the mother,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
meant his cellular structure, his DNA had it permanently. You could, if you were around the Nazarene at the time he was alive, you would have felt that energy and it would have had an impact on you, but it
Yeah.
would have dissipated when you left. Because it represents your higher self, which you only had 10% capacity to hold. That's why the rest of us is separate from us. The higher self is who you are. So it's coming back together because of this frequency match that's coming up through the physical. The human race is actually literally becoming less physically dense because of that. And it's matching the frequency that 3i Atlas brought in, which took the solar system's frequency back to where it was pre-Atlantis, which matches it perfectly.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And they've
Okay,
been
so you
caught in a
just
pincer.
right, right, right. So that just made me, Sam and I are always laughing at junk DNA, the term junk
Yeah,
DNA. What
ludicrous.
is it? I mean, you just said a couple of times we were brought down to 10% capacity. So junk DNA, does that simply mean what is being activated right now? What's been activated since the Great Awakening for years?
Yep.
And okay, we're
So look at
coming
this.
online with the so-called junk DNA, is what you're saying.
Well, the ratio is we use 10% of our brain power, 10% of our DNA is active, and we operate at 10% because that's what happened at Atlantis. We chose to experience reality at that level by going into sexual desire to the point where it perverted love, our relationship to love, which means we couldn't receive love as it was. We could only receive 10% because that's effectively what happens. The mind shuts out the reality. So we had to live reality from that perspective. But that's the reason we were put together the way we were because we were strong enough to hold that and still wake up, which is why
Wow.
Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, the analogy in Star Wars, which was given to Lucas by God, by Tom, by the
Right,
way, it was a
right,
soul contract. It's an
right.
analogy for the entire universe's history, for our history, for the entire story the human race is going through. God called it the story of the universe. So the analogy is Anakin Skywalker. That's how we fulfill our our purpose is by going all the way into the dark and waking up back, coming back to the light. And what's happened here can never happen again in the history of the universe, which is why God said the manner of transition that we're going through now, the manner of transition of the human race has never been done before in the history of the universe. No race has ever been put together the way we are genetically either.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's
S-
happening? He said we could have populated the planet tens of thousands of times over with a number of souls who wish to be on your planet for this experience.
Yeah, yeah. Sam says it's the longest long game.
It
It
is, it
feels
is.
like it. It feels like it.
But you're in the lifetime that experiences it. Don't
Morgan
listen
says
to
our, yes, Morgan says our old foundations were built on sand. We are rebuilding on solid ground.
exactly. Let it
Yeah,
all fall apart. It was
yeah.
never real.
Janet
And
says
you don't need it.
collapse. What's that?
And you don't need it. In fact, not
Right.
only do you not need it, it's the problem.
It's the problem. Janet says, collapse the old pillars to become your own pillar of strength. Let it die to birth the new octave. And
Yeah,
thanks for the rawness. I
that's it.
love
Yeah.
that. We really are, Morgan says, we really are being gifted the opportunity to extract ourselves out of the old grids. Unfortunately, this can be hard with families, but some come back and meet us where we are at, and that's
It,
magic.
you know what? The biggest gift that's ever been given to those families is the fact that you exist in the family system with the question, what's the real truth? And you're willing to give up everything to the answer. Everything. You
Everything.
just can't, because you can't see what the problem is, and you recognize that. The way you switch back on and come back to the divine order is by being willing not to know. And everything in the mind control program that those of the interference have slammed us with is about being too scared to hold the unknown. But you can't. Your desire for the truth is greater than your
It's too
fear of the
strong.
unknown. And
It's
in
too
the end,
strong.
it has no defense against it. And the best gift in the family is that presence within the system, because what comes next, they'll move through it way faster
Mm.
than had you all been. Because the frequent, think of the same, it's a microcosm of what the Nazarene did. The truth of who we are, you have that question in the family system. He took it into our collective unconscious. You've taken it into the family's collective consciousness.
Wow. I am the Nazarene.
Exactly. That's what he meant. This
I
time it's not
know.
the one, it's the many.
I know, as I say that with some arrogance.
Yeah, you know. Why do you think the church, the Roman Empire, spent so much time making that blasphemy?
Oh my God, right. Christians I love today cannot accept that we are the Nazarene. The Nazarene is
And
us. We are God. God is us. They cannot accept that.
yeah, they've bought the lie. They're just in the Roman Empire. They're in it's the spiritual version of the corporate system. It's no different. It's just a controlled narrative of the ancient world, and that's why God, He said to me directly, the time for religion is over.
Yes,
The time
yes.
for religion is
And
over.
and they're so well intentioned. That's
Yeah.
where your motivation is your protection in all things. Like these Christians of which I speak, I love them dearly.
Hmm.
They are very misinformed because they bought the lie, but I love them dearly, and their motivation is as pure as the driven snow. The ones I'm
Yes.
talking about, not all Christians.
No. But
Um,
the thing is, the truth they don't want to own, it's deep down in their buried in their subconscious, is that they've acted as conduits for the inversion. They've acted as conduits. They are conduits for the one that fell, not God. Now that's going to hurt like hell, but that's how you come back to being a conduit for the divine order.
oh,
You can't go around. None of
that
us can
is
go
gonna
around
hurt like
the
hell.
inversion. None of us can go around the inversion within us. We can only go through it because it was never true. The only way you're going to know it wasn't true is to meet the feeling and the story and not believe it.
Direct
And that's like
experience.
a lot of people with COVID are going to struggle to look their own children in the eye for a very long time because they acted as conduits, the agents in the matrix. They're going to have to own
Wow.
the fact that none of this could have happened without people like them doing. God told me what is important is to act. If you're not acting from your heart, you're acting from the inversion. They've allowed themselves, like people in the military, they were doing what they thought was right,
Right.
but they've been conduits for. Without us being able to act out of the inversion, it can't exist. And that's why the human race was put here to take in that and be willing to own our own responsibility for making it happen.
Okay, what about own our responsibility for allowing it to
We're
happen,
not
making it
victims,
happen?
or we're
No, no,
perpetrators.
we're not. We're not. But what about, you just said it, God told you it's important to act. Act from your heart. Otherwise, you're acting from the inversion. Okay, so what about all those who got jabbed or jabbed their children, believing truly that they were had their best interest and the best interest of humanity? That
Yes.
therein lies the motivation is your protection in all things?
Well,
Or
look, no, look, their motivation was they thought they were doing the right thing. That's why the transition process coming will it'll pull them apart and it'll hurt, but their hearts are in the right place. They just were misguided about what that was. That's why
yeah,
God called they called this reality an inversion of reality.
yeah,
Now, the only reason it works is because we believe the inversion is the truth. We believe it's
right.
the inversion of reality of the truth is reality, and it isn't. It's the
And it
opposite way
isn't.
around. So
Yeah,
getting that round the right way means owning the feeling and the impact of what you've allowed into your family
yeah,
system by
yeah.
believing the lie and making sure everybody else does. We're perpetrators of the lie. Without us acting as if the lie was real, it can't exist.
The
That's
whole
what
thing with
Neo.
World War II. Yeah,
World War II was it was a
perfect
social engineering
example.
project. Yeah.
Yeah,
Problem, reaction, solution. They create those are the interference generate the problem. So we will
yeah.
react and act from the reaction. and
Okay.
create their solution, which is centralization of power.
Okay. Which brings me to Mike's question earlier on. So what do we do about how do we resist digital ID, or do we resist digital ID? Because basically my take on so many of these things that they're forcing on us is it's all going to come out in the wash. I kind of feel like stand firm, don't partake, don't participate,
Mhm.
don't just keep on because it's going to come out in the wash in the next couple of years.
Because
But what about when you can't?
don't forget there's a whole other element operating within our civilization, and that is the white hats at the top
Yeah,
level.
yeah,
There are people awake throughout every system in the civilization, and that's growing big time. The
okay.
problem those of the interference have, they've lost control of the narrative around COVID. That's what the Arcturians described to me. They came in 2018, 2019, the summer thereof in Australia, and described what was coming to me.
Yeah,
And so that my attention would be in the right place when COVID played out. I knew that's what they were talking about. The final point of their plan is their most vulnerable point. They will lose control of the narrative. This will undo, divide, and conquer. So the process playing out unifies us around this. The problem they had with COVID, what they've always relied on is divide and conquer, means keeping our attentions fractured so that we're divided in where we put our attention. So for 12,000 years, the human race it's been all over the place. We haven't been
mhm,
unified.
mhm,
What COVID's done is created a global single point of focus that every human on the planet is aware of. We have
yeah,
one, now the lie around that being exposed means, what if they lied about that? What else have they lied about? And that question is playing out within the systems of government, military. Now, there are elements within those systems that have always known this, always known this. But what's always missing is the people on the street.
yes,
That's
that's
why
the
the Nazarene,
pincer.
well, that's the pincer. And that's why that element is what the Nazarene told James and the Magdalene to marry and have children for, to create the twin flame soul group that has this indelible soul purpose. That was allowed to happen because those of interference gave their permission to the plan. So a soul group was able to be born into a body that came directly from Atlantis, that couldn't have their memories separated. And that means that we were told to live the life of a householder, that we
Mhm.
had to go and live a very bottom, like I wash dishes in a kitchen. I've had a
Yeah, I know.
very, I've been dealing with everything on the lowest level possible. They called us Range Rovers and system buses. We had to get moved around and put into hotspots so that the energy would be there and it would leave an imprint so that they wouldn't be able to embed it too well. And that's all around the world. There are twin flames all around the planet.
Yeah.
That's one of the
Okay,
reasons.
so something you just said made me, so you were talking about those of the interference gave their permission for this to happen?
Yeah,
Why would those of the interference give their consent to this plan?
because
Because
they
they
didn't
had
understand.
2,000 some odd years
They
to.
didn't realize they were, again, you can't out strategize God. They didn't realize, fully understand what they were giving their lives to.
I love that.
Now,
You can't out strategize God. I love that.
why did Atlantis collapse? Because we chose it. Why is the inversion collapsing? Because they chose it. Exactly what God told me was, what the Arcturians said is, they described what was coming. Um, they said everything that's been taken from you will be given back. Everything that's been used against you will be turned back to the user. So their entire strategy's been put back on them. So they, just like they locked us in, tricked us into choosing.
But then consented to it.
Well, they chose an outcome. They chose a path. They committed
Okay.
themselves to a trajectory with an outcome,
Which they did not realize
which we
it
did.
was their utter demise.
No, they didn't understand, like we didn't in Atlantis, we didn't understand the ramifications of what we were doing.
Okay.
By choosing that action, we were locked into an outcome. We gave our free will to have an experience, and we have free will has to be honored. We chose an outcome, and that has to be honored. Those of the interference wanted to manipulate that choice to an end game at this point in history. to achieve their goal of making getting free will life to separate its heart connection to God and connect it to the one that fell, so that the one that fell had a physical light space vehicle that it could remain internal through, because free will has to be honored. That was what they thought was going to happen. Now, 2,000 years ago, the Nazarene shows up and plays the same trick on them. So they've chosen the exact opposite.
Okay, what makes this current time unlike any other in the history of the universe, this paradigm shift, like if this is kind of a repeat of what happened in Atlantis, what makes this the big show? What makes
Well,
this okay?
because instead of having, just like the Nazarene, he came back as he was when he was alive, whole in the same light space vehicle. That's what. So the human race, instead of the form dying and us having to come back into a whole new form, we come back as we are. So we basically, this is the two Earth thing. It's very misunderstood.
Yes.
The inversion of the planet dissolves and we come back to where we were pre-Atlantis, but with full awareness of how we got from there to here.
Sweet.
That's never happened before in the history of
That's
the
exciting.
Yeah. And that's why it can never happen again. And that's why God said all eyes are on earth. That's why we were put here in the first place, to put right to Star Wars, chosen to bring balance back to the Force. We were chosen to correct the imbalance that those of the interference were creating in the foundation layer of the universe, dark and light, the balance between dark and light. That's what we were put here to do, and that's what's happening. So that's why the entire universe feels the impact. That's never been done before. The way the Arcturians described it to my wife and I was, they called the strategy the trap of the human race: shoot for the moon, life's best hand.
Mm-hmm.
So life went all in. Here you go. Here's the best we can do in one race, bang. Which meant the trick was tempting. Wow, if you get this race in one go, you've got the whole galaxy in, and by extension, the universe, that the imbalance you've created will be permanent. But it meant they had to go all in.
Oh.
All in. So fully committed to a plan they couldn't extricate themselves from, because once you put your cards on the deck, you can't go back. So the one that fell was trapped in a trap that he couldn't get out of. And this is that's us. And that's exactly what's happening.
Sweet. So it's so sweet. Oh God, I wish I felt this good. Like
But everyone has to be terrified that it's working.
What?
Everyone has to meet the fear. The only way to know it's not real is to let it come and get you. So this is where the pincer move. The ordinary people, what's never happened, that white hat at the top's always been there. What's never happened is enough people on the ground to stop mob rule winning.
Yeah.
Burning the witches. You couldn't go against conscription in the war, blah, blah, blah. There's the mob rule thing. That there needs to be too many people that we're going to go, hang on, we're not doing that anymore. There's got to be a better way. This problem just keeps on repeating. So that light to light up what the real problem has always been is too powerful, and is bringing up the mechanism that's always been there. Everyone has to feel the fear and think they've got to go with the plan because that's the only solution. But the ability for them to carry out the plan is being eroded from the inside out. There's a financial system waiting in the wings. The
I
whole
know.
thing's going to
We all
look at
just
that.
want it to be faster. Yeah.
That's the number of the Nazarene.
Oh, I know. There were just a little while ago, there were 33 in the chat.
That's why the number of the four soul group, that's twin flames, is 13.
So James and the Magdalene, the twin flames soul group, I'm still bamboozled by that.
Well,
Like I don't fully understand
because
it.
the
I mean, maybe
foundation,
it's beyond my human comprehension.
the foundation of the inversion is the false belief that the fundamental nature of polarity is conflict, but it's unity. So the twin flames are born into lifetimes where the female is the exact opposite of him. So the conditioning we have to take in, we react against each other, but the soul is unified. Putting the opposite belief system with a soulmate, it's never happened before. People have an opposite,
So,
but
so
they have a soulmate, but the two don't coexist. So the twin flames are unique in that sense. So our whole life is about breaking the stranglehold of the idea that polarity is about conflict and you've got to get the other person to change. We come back together. So that's why you have to wait to a certain point in your own evolution before you meet, and then it goes way more intense. But that's the fact that we're system busters is the control narrative system's ability to operate and work gets eroded by the more twin flames take that sole purpose on.
exactly.
It's not
Right
working.
into our systems. Yeah, right into our systems.
Well,
What
the
about
knowledge
all
of
the
that is available to every human on the planet. That's
right,
why it was set up that way. We're a microcosm of the human race.
right,
It
right.
doesn't mean anyone's better than anyone else, by the way.
No,
It's just a
no,
particular
no.
sole purpose with
No,
a particular job like
I don't ever
everybody's.
get that from you. I don't ever get that from you.
It's a reaction people have, so I want to meet that.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Um, yeah, so, what about all the twin flame souls who couldn't tolerate and stay together like you guys did?
Scattergun approach. It only needed four to connect with God directly for the entire system to switch on and for the human race to
Four
reach critical
couples?
mass. The human
Four
race,
couples?
or two couples, four twin
Two
flames.
couples, four people. That's amazing.
That's why it
Um,
was set up that way, a microcosm for the human race. Again, that's why the trap was inevitable. Two couples connect with God directly in the physical, just like Atlantis. That's just a microcosm of how we were in Atlantis, and the whole
yeah,
thing switches back on again.
yeah.
And that happened in 97. So that's why the human race reached critical mass. But the fact that we were going to do that, critical mass meaning the 100th monkey effect, if enough people within a race choose a trajectory, the whole race has to conform, which is what happened in Atlantis. So this is the opposite of that. But instead of it being thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, only needed to be four.
Yep. Somebody in the chat says, Tommy says, there's a Chinese man with a book from an author who says Jesus had children,
No,
which,
he's wrong.
yeah,
They
you're one of,
confused Jesus with James.
they confused Jesus with James and kind of wrote James out of history
James was written out of history,
intentionally.
but the impact of there being the Magdalene having children, everyone assumes it had to be Jesus. Because James was written out of history, because he's the critical point. James is the critical element. He had to be written out of history because that's what made it inevitable. The fact that the Nazarene went into the collective consciousness and James had children with the Magdalene is what made
Yes,
it.
yes, but you understand, you're one of the only ones anyone has ever heard saying that. I'm not trying, I believe you. That feels right to me. It feels appropriate. Like everyone, I've never come across anyone who believes like this. Like everyone thinks Jesus had children.
Look, the thing about the Nazarene, he told his brother James, he gave the mantle to James. In other words,
Yep,
I'm leaving, you take the place of holding this reality of what happened because Paul, the secret agent sent in by the Roman Empire to infiltrate, they knew that was going to happen. So this strategy is what they always use, a secret agent. They called them the Twin Flames secret agents, undercover agents. It was a counter move to that exact moment that the Roman Empire made their move. The Nazarene made the counter move using James and the Magdalene to have children. That was the counter move to send not just one undercover agent, but thousands, millions into the human race so that it would be counted at the right time. So the impact of what the Roman Empire did, the control narrative in the Roman Empire, and also the corporations. The first corporation was the Vatican. So the
yep,
fourth beast rising from the sea was starting to be created there. The next thing was the border crisis with all the empire building nations, Britain, France, Spain, which created admiralty law. Where
yep.
does the border between Spain's empire and Britain's empire happen? Well, let's call this thing called territorial waters, 1 mile out from the land, and then the gap in between we'll call the high seas. That was a strategy to complete the slavery. The number of the beast, the mark of the beast is your number on your birth certificate, which they're completing that plan now. so that you become an asset of the corporation through your birth certificate. That's what's playing out right now. But too many
Best
people
thing I
know.
could do is not have a job.
That's right. This is the whole
I know.
amateur. That's why that's why it's what's the word, treason.
Oh my God.
But that was all known ahead of time by the Nazarene. That's exactly the playbook they used. So everything that
Okay.
happened back then with James was a counter move.
Okay. I love that. I love that. That feels right. Um,
So that's not
okay,
correct. The Nazarene couldn't have children with the Magdalene because of his genetic profile,
because of
but it
his,
had to
yeah,
be that way. But the
right.
combination of the Nazarene and James meant both, it was going to happen anyway.
Absolutely. I get that. That makes such perfect
So
sense.
they're just confusing what the James and the Magdalene, what happened with them with the Nazarene, because James was written out of history.
Yep.
He's the Nag Hammadi texts. The Essenes put thousands of scrolls in thousands of places right through the Qumran cave system. So they've only found a couple, but there's lots more. They describe what happened then. James is the righteous teacher, and Paul is the lying spouter. That's what I was told. This is all I was told this by God
Yeah.
and the group around that I met there, the whole history of it.
So, okay, so you touched on Three Eye Atlas. I wasn't expecting. I'm really glad for that. I hope there's more of that in the coming weeks. I think Mark asked us to come back
To
when
talk.
more happens with Three Eye.
Well, that's next year.
Um, yeah, next year. That's what I was thinking too.
And the
December's huge.
physical,
December's ignition and 2026 is action.
that's when the
So
physical starts to have to
yeah,
conform.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
they'll
a
fight
lot of
back.
people get that. A lot of people are getting that. I don't know if you've been looking at all the links and the Instagram
This is what
things
you'll
I've been
see happen is this reality
like
popping up
all
and
this
you'll see
popping
people.
up with like people that are really surprising you
Mm.
with what they know. Like people
Mm.
are getting downloads like crazy. So we touched on, I don't know if we touched on digital ID to Mike's satisfaction. I don't really know if there's an answer or anyone's satisfaction. It's such a crapshoot. Like, what is
It's just a
everyone
strategy
supposed
in
to
the slavery
do? No,
system.
I know, but like my mom and I got, what is that? TSA pre-check. We got that years ago. It's got to be like a decade at
Carrot and the
least.
stick with communism.
Yeah. And it's going to take care of itself. We don't need to worry about it, right?
It's the Roman Empire. You know,
Yeah.
apart from aqueducts and roads, what else is the Roman? They provide all these.
Apart from aqueducts and roads, what have they done
See,
other
we've
than
given you all this
fuck
great
us
stuff.
all?
Okay, it's a slavery system, but we gave you all this great stuff. Let's focus on the positives here.
That's so funny. Okay. So wait a minute. The next thing that I know, and we touched on the homeopathic dose, and I think Anne was really happy with that. Um, she wrote in the chat she had chills. I had chills when I heard you explain that differently than I ever had heard you explain it. The other thing
That's
is
what
this.
happens too, by the way.
Oh, I know.
You go
I've
deeper.
said
You
it
go deeper.
many times. What I can hear you say now is so different than what I heard you say 3 years ago. Like all of a sudden it lands differently. So even when I don't think I'm doing things, things are happening under the surface.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And when these things happen, that's when it shows itself. But it doesn't show itself day to day. So you lose hope and you go back into
Mm,
despair.
it's all part
And
of it.
oh, it's just awful. It sucks. God, I love you, but it sucks. So the other thing I think people wanted to talk about was the whole mass migration, the immigration thing,
Mm,
all
same
these
thing.
like same thing, right?
It's social engineering. There's a few sides to that, but one is they disguise these secret agents. That's always been a strategy. That's how fascism rose in Germany, by the way, in Europe. Same situation. They generate problems that create a lot of anger and reactionaryism. So the
Hmm.
collapse of the financial or 2008 played a critical role. The collapse of the
Oh
financial
God,
system
yeah.
that was done. That was all deliberate to set up this process now. Then COVID
People
and
still talk
putting,
about that.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that was the beginning of when it fell apart. And the 20, sorry, yeah, COVID being about pushing us to our limit. God said they've never been able to break your human spirit. So they're pushing us to our limit and holding us there in the Western world. They've spent a long time building up this Western world and subjugating other countries like India and Middle East and shutting them down and creating a lot of anger and resentment and reactionaryism, putting secret agents into those areas and constellating that anger around belief systems. So things like Sharia law pop up, Zionism. They take the extremism and put a structure around it to lock it in. And then the idea was to put this immigration wave all around the world.
Right.
Two things about that. One is it creates reactionaryism so they can justify
Oh yeah,
being.
they got everybody mad at this angry Muslim idea.
And the Muslims angry at this whole Western idea, the infidel, and the
But they
victim perpetrator
created
thing.
it.
They just want to keep us locked in conflict with each other.
Yes, yes,
But they
yes.
bury these agents in there to make that happen. They're secret agents that take the anger and constellate it around a belief system. Fascism is an example. Communism is an example. They're all totalitarian. They're all the same group. It's all the same thing, different names. That's it. But the other thing is when they trying to bring in 2030, the other thing was to create this. Hong Kong was deliberately set up by the British Empire to have an impact on China at the right time because they were given the job. Communism was set up. The whole thing was done to create a version of China that could take the role. They were given through Hong Kong going back to China. They were giving manufacturing and import export that took them from one place to another. Bang,
Yep,
and all the manufacturing
yep,
pouring in through Shanghai through the 90s and noughties was had a big impact. So it created this wealthy middle class, huge middle class they've never had before, with a lot of family trauma around being poverty stricken, which means just like the fascists, the German people wanted to believe the promise that Hitler had because it took the anger from what happened to them post World War One and the depression and gave it somewhere to put back. There you go, we're powerful again. They wanted to believe that. They didn't want to believe what all the critics were saying about what was going to come down the line, and they were right. So the secret agents are about keeping that form, the anger that those of the interference need it to be problem, reaction, solution, centralization of power. So China's been given they're now the major shareholders of BlackRock, the
yep.
fourth beast rising from the sea, BlackRock and Vanguard, satanic symbols. They're running the show now. They've been put at the head of the table. It was Italy, it was Britain. There's all same group, right? Same group. Who
Mm-hmm,
cares? They
mm-hmm,
try to keep us distracted with different players. It's all the
mm-hmm.
same thing. Now, the thing about them is genetically, Chinese are dominant. So when they come into a population and they mix it turns the population into one thing. It takes away the genetic diversity that was there and turns it into one thing over time.
Holy
But the middle
shit.
class, they want to believe the materialism that's new to them in a way the Western world, a lot of us are over it. It doesn't get you anywhere. A lot of us in the US and the Western world, we're a bit over materialism because what does it do for you? They're at the start of it. Plus, they're very compliant. They're mentally strong, so their belief system, their willingness to look at their own belief system is a lot less.
Wow.
Once they're entrenched, it's hard to get them out of it. They become fanatical. Plus, when digital ID and all this 2030 stuff comes in, they're compliant, so they'll vote for it. So the idea is to flood each country with enough population that will say yes to counter the reaction against that throughout the
Well,
world.
holy shit, then how is this toppled? How is this
It's not going to
won?
work because it's
How
not going to work
come? It's
because this
masterful.
because this yeah, it is masterful. It is masterful, but it has to be seen through. Don't forget there's this other group entirely working behind the background,
Okay.
slamming them from the inside. Their
Okay.
control over the military, their control over all the systems of central banking, for instance. The
Yeah.
problem they've got is they wanted to crash the economy in a certain way that they were immune to. That would only work if we didn't have an alternative. Centralization, the central banking system, think of money as leaves on a tree. Photosynthesis. The whole ecosystem operates through sunlight is the power. Sunlight's the source of the ecosystem. So sunlight comes into the planet. The leaves take that energy and convert it into a form
Right.
that an animal can then take the leaf dissolves and it brings back the sunlight, the energy of the sunlight, which it functions on, etc., etc., etc. Well,
Okay.
money takes our sole purpose, the energy of our intention to be born. Now we have to go through the financial system to live. So it turns us into a liquid asset. Our sole purpose becomes a
Oof.
fluid asset like sunlight. It runs
Oh,
the ecosystem of the inversion. That's
that's
why the
gross.
financial systems don't exist in galactic federations throughout the universe, because the ones coming from the divine order, because they're a system of slavery. So that has to collapse. They were counting on being able to control it for their benefit. Problem is, they're surrounded by centralization of power. They're in the center and they've lost control. They can't escape because it's closing in from every side. So the street level and within the systems that they rely on, those people have just as much an understanding of how all that operates as they do. They understand the banking system every bit
Right.
as good as Soros and all those cronies, who aren't really the core group, by the way. If you know their face
Sure.
and their name, they're
They're
not the
the
money.
ones we see.
They're just the faces. They're
Yeah.
expendable. But that system exists. There's an alternative. Their version of the Great Reset, there's an alternative, a white hat version. And that's the same with everything. So it's all waiting there. Their ability to carry out the plan, it won't work. It can't work. But this strategy of our belief system running the whole thing has to be brought out into the open. So that's what's
Has
happening.
to. Has to.
The
But
power of the willingness to shut down. Okay, so some countries like India and China with this brand new middle class and these compliant people who will say yes to anything just to keep the reality that they've got now because they don't want to go back. It still relies on everybody conforming,
yep.
and that's
Yep.
not going to happen.
Yep, yep. Paul in the chat says they had their rule book and we didn't, and we kicked their butt. Love always wins. So, okay. So I know you're not a prophet. You've been told these things by Arcturians, Pleiadians, God. Don't you see? Okay, 2026, and I don't want to manifest that. I have a pretty good understanding of manifestation, but do you see murder and mayhem in the streets in 2026?
Look, again, possibly. I mean,
Yeah,
look, in a
it
way,
feels like it.
the expression of the
I don't feel it
behavior needs
though.
to be brought out. So there's a level of reactionaryism coming up that's never really been here before. It's just simply look, there's nothing new about the strategy playing out. What's new is it's global all at the same time. Same thing happened in the Roman Empire, same thing happened in all the empires of Europe, same thing happened in every civilization since Atlantis. It's always been the same dynamic. It's just never been there all at once. So that's
Well,
why they
all
have
at
to come.
once and so transparent with social media, the internet, the cell phones, the technology. I mean, honestly, the technology is as much their undoing as anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the other problem they've got is the way the Arcturians put it, all the lines of connection connecting them to you also
Yeah.
connect you to them. As you
Yeah.
wake up, it's remember light, nothing destroys dark like light, awareness, which means your intention to come back to the truth and your awareness about it is being put into the system through
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
So everything they're throwing at us is drawn because their centralization of system. They're in the center. They're stuck in the middle. They've got no way out. Everywhere they go, they're imprisoned by their own system. So that awareness is growing in and in and in further and further and further. It's breaking down the integrity of the structure. The way the Arcturians showed it to me is their system is a big machine, and they had a big green button, and every time someone was getting away, they pressed the button, and it would just shut it down through all the strategies they use, and they keep pressing the button and it's not working properly. It's like, what? Things aren't what?
Yeah, it's funny though. It just makes me laugh because in Lori's community, we start our 5-day fast after Thanksgiving. And you can fast anything. You can fast sugar or social media or whatever, poor limiting beliefs, whatever. And I'm just sitting here thinking about you what we were just talking about with technology kind of being their undoing, and how each time we're putting our truth into the system in social media, we're putting our truth into the system. So I'm
Mhm.
like, so I'm giggling thinking, okay, so my slight addiction to Instagram is serving humanity's best. Okay, noted.
Yeah, it's good to relax about some of this stuff.
Right.
Just because
Because
their
it's your
intention is to use
motivation is your protection in all
all things,
things.
just because their intention is to use it against us, doesn't mean that's the only outcome of the same tool. We can
No.
use it, but we're using social media to connect with each other and share the truth of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And they can't control that now.
Ha.
They're trying to, but look what's happening, censorship. They're trying to shut down it. And it's just obvious that it's a totalitarian motivation. It's getting more and more obvious to more. Now, remember, something else is
Okay.
happening. All of these so-called sleepers, they have a voice inside them. It's getting louder and louder and louder.
Right.
And their ability to get away with that being true is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And every one of us that keeps on putting ourselves out there, you don't have to convince anyone of anything. In fact, it's important to step away from that now.
Yep.
You can let the gap be there, but just speak. Offer all that you are and give only what's asked for. You don't have to ram it down anyone's throat,
No.
but,
Right.
but be present in every moment as your awareness is. And don't be scared to say the reference point. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but
Sure.
their whole family's going on about COVID being real and all the vaccine deniers. And you say, I think you should just be prepared to be wrong because from what I've seen, that's not true. And you can leave it at that. They're going to
Right.
react like they
Yeah.
always have, but
That's my favorite thing to say. Be
they
prepared to be
cannot
wrong.
unhear what you just said. They
They
can't
can't
unhear it.
unhear it.
And
Absolutely.
that
That's a
their
wonderful
heart
thing. Their heart,
Their heart
right?
knows it's true.
Their heart knows
And
it's true. But
their mind's ability to shut it out is getting weaker.
yeah, and that's a wonderful thing for everybody on the call and everybody listening to this to really take in is that they can't unhear it. It kind of relaxes your need to over explain anything or
Yes.
offer anything when it's not asked for. Like if
Mhm.
you stand in your truth and how you are in all of these moments, they can't unsee or unfeel that. We have God and truth on our side to,
Think of
not
our
that
own
there are
experience.
sides, but
Think of our own experience. I mean, we get to a point where we can't keep going, and a lot of things from the past kind of echo. We've always had those reference points, and that's kind of why we
yeah,
crystallize it. We go, you know what?
yeah,
Maybe there's something to it. Whether you name it that way or not. It's the same process we've all gone through, which our sensitivity stops us from getting away with lying about it sooner, that's all.
yep, yep, yep. Paul says, trust the plan, then cue. And then I'm so ignorant about Q. I'm pretty sure Anne knows a lot about Q. But then he also says the Roman Empire is the Roman Catholic Church, absolutely. And symbolism will be their downfall,
Correct.
and we are,
Correct.
yep, yep, yep. And we are here to lead by example. I like Paul.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice one, Pete.
And then he says 33 are watching. So I love it when the number of the Nazarene is
33.
watching.
That's the
Mhm.
one. And look, just on the number thing, God told me mathematics is the language of the universe.
Mhm.
And again, there's a feminine, masculine version of that, but the number thing is really important. It's symbolic. So the reason Q gave the number 17, Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet, because when you get one, us, and you give your life back to source, which represented by seven, when you connect the two together, you get eight, which gets back to the Sphinx and God. The Sphinx was actually built for God. And
Yes.
that was back at 56,000 years ago, roughly, as Atlantis was being put together. So that's the masculine, it symbolizes the sacred masculine, the structure of civilization reflecting the structure of the universe in right relationship to its divine source. And that's what this process is doing. So this Q it's the same group that was there at Atlantis that knew exactly what was playing out, that put everything in code, including the Bible code, which was all put together through a quantum computer by the one by in service to source. so that it could be opened up when computers were invented. The book sealed until the end of time, which is the fourth dimension being transformed by the fifth dimension. We do not have the time set by men. Masculine, it's not masculine, it's feminine as well.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a bridge, but that's why science doesn't work until it lets spirituality in. He said of Einstein was looking for the unified field theory that explained everything. He could never find it. The reason why? God said, add a fifth element, fifth dimension. Spirituality and physicality cannot be, you won't understand direct energy systems or how to travel
Right.
across a galaxy until you bring in spirituality to science.
Right. Right. Um,
Academia.
Tommy says, I hope you both can watch podcast UFO live shows as he's interviewed about the book and the real history of Jesus. So maybe it's
Oh, okay.
something we'd be interested in. Tommy, the channel is called Podcast UFO.
I'll
So
check it out.
Daniel Chong is interviewed on podcast UFO live shows. Oh, Samuel or Damuel. Anyway. Well, I'll look it up. I'll look at this chat again and I'll find it for both of us.
Yeah, sure. Well, I
Um,
mean, look, I don't know how many people know what I know. I'm really not sure. All I know is I got taken through an experience and
exactly.
told stuff. So we'll find out, I guess. Yeah, because I mean, I personally, I mean, I've had to stay in a very isolated life, so I haven't really, except the group that I met in the UK when I was speaking to God directly. I've never met anyone who's had the same awareness. Like, who was the Nazarene, the hawk? Why was that important? Because the human race was created as a trap. I've never met anyone else who's known that.
Right.
But
Right.
are they out there? I don't, let's find out.
Right. Exactly.
It's not the, and
Exactly. And the beautiful thing about you and your direct experience is you're always prepared to be wrong.
that's the key. The
You
only reason I know what I
yourself.
know is because I didn't know first.
Because you didn't know first and you had a direct experience where you did know and you know, but you're also very aware, prepared to be wrong about whatever.
Oh, and I was given it in elements in throughout a whole process, which were precisely timed to remove a lot of the trauma around the conditioning process that I had to live. I had to have two parallel lives. So I had to be in the problem just as much as anyone else, but I had this fifth dimensional connection which wouldn't let the spiritual reality of life disappear either. And
Yeah.
the tension between the two was often extremely isolating. But
Oh my
they
God.
timed this process by they gave me elements so that it would release the stranglehold of the conditioning within me on my sense of self. So it was really hard. And I
Oh,
didn't understand how all these elements connected until the Arcturians turning up started that process. And it was really in the last 5 or 6 years that it all started to click big time.
oh yeah. A lot has happened in the
And then
3 years
we met.
we've known each other. A lot has happened.
That's part of the process. So, we connected so that I could start to crystallize it all into a
Yeah.
form where I could actually, when they said it's time to go public, speak publicly, I had, well, how am I going to do that? And they
Yeah.
always give you what you need. They point your attention.
Yeah.
They don't give you all the answers. God said it's not good to give all the answers, but they'll point your attention in the right direction. Then you've just got to trust that whatever you need to get past your block, they're what, no way, is going to come to you so that it will be dissolved. And that's exactly what happens. And I've lived that all my life.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what all of us are going to experience directly.
Yeah. Tommy says Samuel Chong is his name. Thank you both again and take care from Melbourne. Tommy's in Melbourne.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
so am I.
Uh-huh.
Where is it?
And he
Where
says,
in
I
Melbourne?
don't know the truth, but I like watching and listening to different people. So he thanks us again.
Look, I don't know the
Um,
full truth either. It's a way of life, not a destination.
right.
It shows itself moment to moment from the whole moment you're born to the moment you die.
So Tommy, if he wanted to meet up with you or reach out to you or whatever, he could
Sure.
just do, yeah, yeah, yeah. So Tommy, he is Gareth Jenkins
I'm in Surrey Hills.
on
He'll know where that is. I was
Instagram.
born in
Okay.
Surrey. How's
Okay.
that?
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Paul also says Charlie Freak and Santos Bonacci know the truth too, and they are amazing. Um, and he says observe, but don't absorb. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's
Be
the
in it,
objective.
not of it, right? The
Yeah.
whole
Let,
non-reactionary, just watch. Yeah, I
let the
use
mind
that
be there.
all the time, right?
Let the mind watch the thing from it. That's why the Nazarene's first incarnation was the hawk. And one thing the Arcturians explained to me when they first showed up again in 2016 properly was the experiences I had when I was a kid, where I'd have to, I'd suddenly go into 5D, have to be behind the house in a forest, and a hawk would come and land next to me. They explained that they were bringing me up onto a ship and helping the the lifetime that I come from, the knowledge of that be preserved in my subconscious whilst I was going through the education system. So they would put a visor over my eyes. They said it wouldn't, I never remembered what happened. I would just switch off when the hawk showed up, left eye to left eye, it would land in a tree right, even with my head, cock its head left, my light, we'd lock left eye to left eye, which is right brain, soul. And I'd switch off and then switch on again. And they said it wouldn't have served me to know. I was a kid
Yeah,
to, just let the experience be there. But it was a reference point.
yeah.
I had that question, what was that about? So they answered it. We were taking her up onto a ship. They allowed me a memory of having this visor put over my eyes, which had all these images, like fast images
Right.
that spoke directly in my subconscious and kept my soul connection in my mind, so that it would come up later, which is why I could speak from it. And
Yeah,
that's how we've helped each other.
yeah. You speak like you have a PhD in like 30 things. It's unbelievable.
But it's scattered. It's like I don't, I have bits
Well,
of a
it's
knowledge,
scattered
but
right now. It's scattered right now, but it is coming together. And it
it is,
doesn't
yeah.
sound, I don't know, it doesn't, well, maybe because
Well,
I've
I
been
don't have the
listening to you
knowledge
for
of a
so many years.
physicist. I have some of the knowledge, some elements, but I have elements that they don't have, which come from spirituality.
Yeah.
So academia is, controlled narrative. It's been
Oh,
edited,
yeah.
highly edited.
Academia is the
You
worst.
can't be spiritual and academic.
Oh,
And yet
goodness, no.
and Einstein, that they hold up as the pinnacle, were very, very spiritual. In fact, Newton's whole life, everything he did, the reason he could explain the universe was because he was looking for the Bible code. He knew it existed and he couldn't,
Yeah.
he wanted to find a mathematical formula that could unlock the code in the Torah, but he could never find it because he didn't have it, computers weren't invented yet. It was timed perfectly for right now because that's when the frequency rise that we had at Atlantis, the sun, Schumann resonance of the planet that connects with our body because we have the same frequencies as the planet. It was timed so that when that energy hit, that information and awareness would connect at the same time. So Eli Rips, the Russian mathematician, was the first one to find it. His hobby was code breaking.
Yeah.
And he thought, you know what, the Torah is the perfect place to put a code. I wonder if there's one there. So he wrote a computer program. Sure enough, there it is. Mathematically proven to exist beyond any doubt by thousands of orders of magnitude. But normally, 1 in 1,000 is beyond science. It's like that's proven to be real.
Mm.
The mathematics was proven beyond like 1 in 5,000.
Yeah.
The chances of these names and words appearing by chance have been mathematically ruled out by the military in the US, Stanford, Harvard, the best mathematicians in the world who can't accept it's true, but they can't fault the maths.
Yeah. That's
Um,
great.
yeah.
So one thing that Paul said, Q is source, and Anne loved it, and I kind of love it too. Is that true? You,
Well, I mean, again,
I would totally buy that.
yeah, look, well, Source working with the Galactic Federation, working with the White Hat Group, coming connecting with us. That's what Atlantis, we're coming
Yeah.
back to where we should have been had we not been messed with.
Yeah.
But we're fully aware of what the being messed with looks like in a way
Yeah.
no other race has ever been able to live through before.
Brilliant. It's
We have
so brilliant.
the whole thing in our consciousness, and this thing about crystalline, coming back to the crystalline, it's a bit misunderstood. Everything
Yeah.
we've experienced crystallizing in our awareness so that the fractured divide and conquer in our mental awareness is really scattered and racing. So think of it like rock, Zzz, the atomic structure of rock. Um, but unifying our experience crystallized. So that pressure that creates diamonds in rock, poof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our whole understanding of exactly who we are, where we've come from,
Yeah.
why it happened, who did it, the motivation
Yeah.
all goes click.
Click.
That's the transition back to
Oh, I
5D.
can't wait.
It's happening right now.
Hurry
And it's
up.
accelerating.
Have I
That's
ever not said hurry up in a conversation with you?
listen to it. Katie's whisper shout. So
I whisper, hurry up.
whisper shout, whisper
I whisper
yell,
shout.
whisper scream. Heck, you can
I
scream and whisper at the same time. Wow, that's amazing.
Oh my God. Just hurry the fuck up. Okay. Okay. Oh my God.
It's good to laugh in all of this. You know what? Light. That's another version of light.
Yeah.
Light-hearted. But it's
Yeah.
hard to find. I know.
It's
It's
very
hard to
hard right
find.
now. It's really intense. It's really uncomfortable. The tears flow every day, the discomfort. Like I'll come from 2 hours of this clarity with you to essentially being in a ditch in the morning. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, reality was described to me as the extraordinary ordinariness. So the ordinary side of reality is this thing with it's like that's all we see it as. The extraordinariness of reality coming connecting with the two is what transforms the ordinary everyday life back into what it should have been. And the Actuarians gave me an image of what's on the other side of these catalyst events that are going to play out over the next couple of years. And open contact with the Galactic Federation, who are our genetic family, literally their family.
Mhm.
Why are they alien? God said, why are they alien? We say to you, they are your brothers and sisters.
I tell everyone that. I comment on everything. I
They've
tell
been
them that.
hanging out for this moment
I
for
know.
thousands of years.
They just ask Anne. She knows.
The
They love
joy
us so much. They are
and look, yeah,
championing us. They love us. They're cheerleaders.
and personalities, sense of humor, like the everydayness, the extraordinary ordinariness, they hold that just like us. So we can connect at that level. It stops being this whoa, where it's just like, wow, hey, how you doing?
Well,
And
I
they've been
mean,
waiting for it.
but the human me can't even for a second grasp the idea of eternity. It's portrayed in television as like forever and painful and awful and
Yeah, well,
but
Hollywood.
but right. But like you put all that personality and joy and character and humor, eternity doesn't sound so bad.
Well, they showed me this image of what happens after this process, and there'll be two or three stages of open contact. The first will be secret, but there'll be a lot of people at the grassroots level who have been going through this. It will be brought into a connection with the White Hat Group and the Galactic Federation. That'll play out and then it will become public. The exact time frame that that will take, I'm not 100% sure of, but they showed me an image of what happens on the other side, the Arcturians did, and the explosion of color and light was phenomenal because our creative the thing when you put your heart back in the right place,
Yeah.
the mind is the conduit for our creative energy. So
Yeah.
everything that's out of the way, we just come back to who we were, playful, open, loving life, curious about life, and
Yes.
able to create. Like,
Create. Right.
think of the Renaissance. Take away the Medici's and
Yeah.
those of the interference.
Sure.
That was just civilization coming back to its true nature. And they
This is the real Renaissance.
spirituality and science, when you put them together, bang.
You've
That's
said
what's
to me
coming.
since probably the day I met you, which, I've thought about it when we were on Mark Atwood's show, when he asked us how we met and everything. I was thinking, we never gave Christy accolades. Like, Christy has been our friend for so many years and introduced us.
Totally,
Like,
yeah.
I never even said that. And I just
She's
love
gone through a
her.
lot in her life. She's gone through a lot in her
She's
life,
gone
and
through a
because of
lot
that,
and we just love
she'll
her
have a
so much.
direct connection in a
Yeah.
way that'll transform it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to say that because we love her dearly. But since I met you, you've always said this to me. You have always said, if humanity knew truly what was happening right now, they'd be dancing in the streets.
Yeah,
If they really had an understanding of this, it would be celebrate, celebrate, celebrate.
totally, absolutely. And just on what's the outcome of digital ID in 2030 and the way, the dark forces thing, what's their experience of what's playing out? God said, we would not like to be in their shoes. Notice there's
Yep.
no question mark. if you play your cards right, if if the human race gets this right, and it's a bit dodgy, hopefully we would not like to be in their shoes. Full stop.
Nope. I'm so glad I'm not in their
And there's no
shoes.
escape. They committed to it 100%. Everything
Amen.
they do to fight for survival just accelerates it.
Amen. Hey, is amen an okay word to say? You know
Oh,
what I mean?
sure.
Like language has been so inverted. Like you have to, like every time I say good morning, I'm like, oh God, it's good morning, MOURNING. I'm like, okay, grand risings. And then I'm like, grand risings. I don't want to say grand risings.
Yeah. Well, that's why I use the word God. They did everything they could to pollute that. And, instead of coming up with sentences like the source of the universe that loves, or like complicated ways of talking around it, like, oh, screw that. I mean, I'm not going to let them win. I just, God, I know what I mean. If other people react, that's their problem.
For me, it's God, then the creator, then source,
It's all the same thing. God
God.
means
To
that.
me,
So
God feels good though. God feels just like a big hug to me
it's a
now.
more efficient, it's 3 letters instead of 5 or several words.
Right?
Short and sweet.
Right?
Let's get back to what it means and forget about the word. What
Yes,
does it mean?
yes.
Ask the question, what's the truth
Yeah.
of God?
Yeah. Yeah. All
Our
right. I
source.
think,
Where does consciousness come from?
right, right. I think we touched on everything. Golden Grand Rising, Diamond Heart says. And she says, I think it's a she. I don't want to assume. Gotta watch yourself these
Good
days.
move.
Anyway.
Assumptions. There's nothing wrong with assumptions, just don't mistake them for reality.
Don't miss
Always be prepared
exactly.
to.
But anyway, Diamond Heart says, you two are so cute. She says, adorbs. We're pretty cute.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks.
Oh, and then
I
Diamond
know.
Heart says Grand Order Design, GOD. I like
Love
that. I
it.
haven't heard that
Good
one.
one.
I like that one.
See, you could use it as an acronym and just play around with all the ways you can.
Oh, she's a girl. He says, yes, I'm a girl. With a laughing emoji. All right. Are you ready to call it? Are you good? Are you gonna go
Well, that's
enjoy
a
your
good note
day
to leave
off?
on with all the fear that's playing out. We would not like to be in their shoes. That's
I
their experience of what's coming. It's inevitable. They can't escape it.
Excellent. I love that. I
Our
every
experience,
hmm?
everything that's been taken from you will be given back, and everything that's been used against you will be turned back to the user. We are bringing you back across the valley you should not have crossed. We are reversing the inversion with you. That's
Yeah,
again, that's what's happened. The reality is we're
I
being brought
love
back to the
that
truth of who we are, full stop.
so
Everything else,
much.
you can just watch it.
I love that so
Don't
much.
buy the if it's designed to make you afraid and insecure, it's look at it sideways.
Bull. Yeah. Okay. All right. I love that. Every Tuesday I dread these calls, which I end up loving, loving, loving. And Roseanne and Ann and everyone tells me, you start out like this and then you go by the end of the call. So wait a minute, does that mean I gotta do this for like 24 hours a day?
Well, yeah, look, eventually,
Oh,
you know,
oh, Roseanne just says she can sleep better now. Oh, good. I love
good,
that.
good, well, great, good.
I love you too, Diamond Heart. Okay. All right. Um, should we wait 5 minutes till it's 2:22 your time? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh
2:18.
no.
That's 18 to
Oh
second.
no. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Oh, it would be 2:22.
Polarity coming to completion. 2:18. Nine is completion. 18 together is duality coming together as
You
one.
talk your numbers and I go, oh, whatever. But I
God, the sacred masculine of God, Tom, and our mind and God's mind connecting creates 9 completion. 1 and
Oh, I love that. And then I saw another post today
8.
that was 2025 was the year of the snake, and it's the completion year, a 9, 2 and 2
Yes,
and 5. And 2026 is the year of the horse, and it's the beginning year of a 1.
that's
I
it.
love that.
And the horse and the one mind go together. The spirit that animates the mind is
Yeah.
consciousness, and the form it takes is the ability. A horse is a symbol of riding a horse is riding life, God, the connection of the mind and God, right, connecting together. It's a symbol of it.
Yep. Yep, yep. I love that. I think I shared a post about that with you, and it was really, really good. Rewilding Women on Instagram. Rewilding Women on Instagram. Lindsay shared it. I think Sam loves it. I've been following them for years, but this year their posts are off the hook. They're so good. So if you want to follow anybody, Rewilding Women. I was gonna say one other thing. Oh, about that. Lindsay shared a link with me. Oh my God, somebody talking about astrology being satanic.
Ah,
And she was just like, no, no, no. She doesn't share it because she believes it. She shares it with the text. Oh my God, I can't even with this. What is even going on?
well, look, all these opinions flying around.
Yeah.
Look, it's great, but everyone will be brought to their knees in the humility of what they really know and what they don't know, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a reality that our mind is secondary. What we think we know is always secondary to the truth. Just be
Yep.
prepared to be wrong.
Always, always. Yep.
And
All
the
right.
transition wave will meet and match your resistance to it. So the less resistance you have, the more gentle it'll be.
Yeah.
Religious zealots are going to have the hardest time.
Religious zealots at academia.
Massive.
Religious zealots, academia,
Very similar.
medical. I mean, really, anyone in the rigidity of the inverted structures that this whole show revolved around for so long is
Mm.
going to have a hard time. Anything with
Yeah.
this, anything with this. Yeah.
Whatever's needed to come to them in the physical to transform them to reality is what will come. We can let go of that.
Yeah. We can let go of that.
And that's where connecting with Galactic Federation comes in with it, with the ET family, because at the right time they can fill in all the gaps, take
Yeah.
away all of the chemical and biological weapons and everything that's affected the human race health wise. We have to be at the right point of undoing the system around us first and being aware of it completely on a global scale, which is what's playing out right now. And then the two connect and all the problems go.
Yeah.
They can't do it for us though. We have to be at the right point where that will be effective. The answer has to answer the question. So the question is what has to crystallize. What's the real truth in the face of all of it? All of it.
Yep. Yep.
Then they can step in properly. That's what they've been waiting for.
Oh,
And
I
it's been
can't
evolving since
wait.
Roswell,
I
47.
want to hug him. I can't wait. I just want to squeeze him and hug him.
Well, they first showed up
Oh,
in 47 and
you're
told the
like,
deep
don't do
state.
that, Katie.
No,
You're like, don't do
no.
that. I want to squeeze and hug everybody. Are
I'm
you
sure it'll
kidding?
happen. I'm sure it'll happen.
Donna just came in. She was out to dinner, and Donna is someone that I want to get on a Zoom with you. That'll happen. That'll happen. I know
Oh,
you're having a break coming up for the holiday season,
I
so I'll
can't
probably
wait.
be getting you on Zooms with lots of people.
I am looking forward to a month off, I can tell you.
I know. I know. I love it when you don't have to go to work. It makes me happy. I
So do I.
do. I do. I know I'm thousands of miles away, but I'm so happy when you don't. I'm happy when everybody doesn't have to work.
Oh, aren't we
Okay.
all?
Donna says yes, yes, yes. All right. All right. Well, I love you dearly.
I love you dearly too. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Love you, love you. Okay. Mwah.
See ya. Mwah.